3 days after the storm, Harbor Light opened its doors again. The sign above the entrance had been cleaned. The broken flower boxes had been replaced. Fresh gravel covered the section of the parking lot where floodwater had carved a narrow channel toward the river. Inside, the restaurant smelled of coffee, warm bread, and new paint. The lower walls near the pantry were a slightly different shade from the rest of the dining room. The owner had tried to match the old color, but the difference remained visible whenever sunlight crossed the room. No one complained. The uneven paint had already become part of the story. By 9 in the morning, every table was occupied. Some people had come for breakfast. Most had come to see the place where Mr. Hale had been rescued. Lily stood behind the counter, pretending not to notice when customers leaned toward the pantry door and whispered to one another. She placed 2 cups of coffee on a tray.
The basement is closed. A man near the window immediately looked away from the pantry.
I wasn't going down there. Lily smiled.
You've been staring at the door for 10 minutes.
I was admiring the paint. Lily glanced at the uneven wall.
Of course.
Ava sat at the end of the counter with a stack of receipts in front of her. She had offered to help the owner sort the expenses from the storm, but she had spent more time listening to conversations than looking at numbers. Everyone had a version of the rescue. In one version, Lucien had carried Mr. Hale through water deep enough to cover his head. In another, Ethan had lifted the iron gate with his bare hands. Someone insisted Ava had directed the entire operation while standing on a table. No one could explain why the table had been necessary. The truth had already become less important than the telling. Lucien sat beside Ava holding a cup of coffee he had barely touched. He listened as an elderly man described the moment the basement wall supposedly exploded.
The whole building shook. I heard it from across the river. Ethan, standing a few feet away, looked at Lucien.
Were you aware that the wall exploded? Lucien considered the question.
I must have missed it. Ava kept her eyes on the receipts.
You were busy carrying Mr. Hale through water over your head, Lucien nodded solemnly.
That would explain it. Lily placed another tray on the counter.
By tomorrow, you'll have fought a sea monster. Ethan picked up his coffee.
Only one? Lily looked toward the crowded room.
Give them time.
The front door opened. Conversation quieted almost immediately. Mr. Hale stood beneath the entrance sign with one hand resting on a wooden cane. A bright blue cast covered his left leg from ankle to knee. His right arm remained in a sling. Thomas stood beside him, looking as though he had already argued against the visit and lost. Mr. Hale surveyed the crowded restaurant, then smiled.
I heard breakfast was free for injured customers. The room erupted in laughter. Lily hurried from behind the counter.
You're supposed to be resting. Mr. Hale raised his cane.
I rested all morning. Thomas looked toward Ava.
He rested for 12 minutes.
That is still resting.
Lucien and Ethan crossed the room together. Mr. Hale's smile softened when he saw them. For the first time since entering, he appeared uncertain. He looked at Lucien, then Ethan. The room gradually became quiet again.
I wanted to thank you properly. Lucien shook his head.
You already thanked us.
I was wet, half-conscious, and arguing with a paramedic. That does not count. Ethan moved a chair away from the nearest table so Mr. Hale could sit without bending his injured leg.
You don't owe us anything? Mr. Hale lowered himself carefully into the chair.
I know. That isn't why I came.
He rested both hands on the handle of his cane. His gaze moved between Lucien and Ethan.
I remember the water. I remember the gate. I remember thinking no one knew where I was. He paused. The humor in his face disappeared. Then I heard voices. 2 people arguing about how to get me out. Ethan looked at Lucien.
We were not arguing, Lucien nodded.
We were exchanging information. Mr. Hale smiled faintly.
Very loudly. A few people laughed. Mr. Hale continued. I don't remember every part, but I remember both of you stayed. You could have turned back. You didn't. His fingers tightened around the cane. So thank you for staying.
Lucien's expression became quiet. He accepted gratitude with the same discomfort he had shown after the rescue. Ethan looked down briefly before answering.
You would have done the same? Mr. Hale considered that?
I would like to believe so. Lucien stepped closer and placed one hand gently on Mr. Hale's uninjured shoulder.
You are safe. That is enough. Mr. Hale nodded. The restaurant applauded again. This time, neither Lucien nor Ethan protested. Lily brought Mr. Hale a plate filled with eggs, toast, and more bacon than Thomas appeared to approve of. Thomas looked at the plate.
The doctor said light food. Lily placed a second piece of toast beside the first.
Toast is light! Thomas looked at her. Lily smiled innocently. Mr. Hale picked up his fork.
I trust her medical judgment.
The room slowly returned to its usual noise. Coffee cups clinked. Chairs moved. Someone opened the front windows, allowing cool morning air to pass through the restaurant. Outside, Moonlight Falls showed signs of recovery everywhere. Workers repaired the wooden railing along Harbor Road. A truck carried broken branches away from the town square. Children crossed the bridge on bicycles, stopping briefly to watch mud. Colored water rushed beneath them. The storm had damaged roofs, roads, trees, and fences. But it had not taken anyone. That fact seemed to give the entire town permission to celebrate. Ava returned to the receipts. Lucien returned to his untouched coffee. Ethan joined Lily behind the counter when she struggled to lift a crate of clean glasses. For nearly 20 minutes, the morning felt ordinary. Then the first story arrived. A woman wearing a brown coat entered Harbor Light and walked directly toward the counter. She lowered her voice even though everyone nearby could hear her.
Has anyone spoken to the sheriff? Lily glanced toward Thomas.
He's right there. The woman turned. Thomas had just sat down with Mr. Hale. He closed his eyes briefly when he saw her approaching. The woman stopped beside the table.
I saw her again. Thomas did not ask who. That caught Ava's attention.
Where?
Near the eastern woods. This morning. Thomas set down his coffee.
How far from the road?
Perhaps 50 yards, maybe more. The fog made it difficult to tell. Mr. Hale continued eating, but his gaze shifted toward the woman.
What exactly did you see? The woman looked around the restaurant. Almost everyone had become quiet. Her voice dropped lower.
A woman, standing between the trees. Thomas waited.
Did she speak to you?
Numbers. She walked away when I called.
Could you see her face? The woman hesitated.
Not clearly, but I saw her coat. Thomas leaned back slightly.
Red? The woman nodded. A murmur passed through the restaurant. Ava looked toward Lucien. He was no longer pretending not to listen. Thomas kept his tone calm. Did you follow her?
Only a few steps. Then she disappeared. Lily folded her arms.
Behind a tree. The woman frowned.
Into the forest. Lily nodded.
That is generally what trees are for. Thomas gave Lily a warning look. She turned back toward the glasses. The woman leaned closer to Thomas.
I know what people are saying.
Then you know most of it is nonsense.
I know what I saw. Thomas's expression remained patient.
You saw someone wearing a red coat. The woman's eyes moved toward Ava, then Lucien, then back to Thomas.
She had Emily's hair. The restaurant became completely silent. Ava's hand stopped above the receipt book. Thomas did not move.
You did not see her face.
Number.
Then you did not see Emily. The woman looked uncomfortable.
I didn't say it was her. No one believed that. Thomas stood. His voice remained controlled, but the patience had disappeared.
Please tell the sheriff exactly where you were standing. Tell him which direction the woman walked. And do not tell anyone you saw Emily. The woman drew back slightly.
I only thought.
That is how rumors begin.
The woman looked around the room and seemed to realize how many people had heard her. She nodded once, then left without ordering anything. The door closed behind her. For several seconds, no one spoke. Then the room filled with whispers, Emily, the eastern woods, the red coat. Ava looked at Thomas.
You knew about this? Thomas turned toward her.
I heard one report yesterday. Lily placed a glass on the counter.
You heard 3. Thomas looked at her. Lily shrugged. The sheriff bought coffee. He talks loudly. Thomas drew a slow breath.
3 reports?
3 people saw someone in the same general area. That does not make her Emily.
I didn't say it did.
You were about to. Ava closed the receipt book.
I was going to ask whether the woman might need help. Thomas answered immediately.
The sheriff has already sent people to check the trails. They found nothing. Ethan came around the counter.
No campsite? Thomas shook his head.
No abandoned car. No damaged equipment. No sign that anyone is lost. Lucien looked through the front window. Beyond the town, the eastern hills rose beneath a pale morning sky.
Do all the witnesses agree on the location? Thomas hesitated. Ava noticed.
They do?
The reports are close together.
How close? Thomas looked at her for a long moment. He knew she would not stop asking. Finally, he pointed toward the edge of the town map framed beside the entrance.
Between the old picnic road and the northern walking trail. Ethan studied the map from across the room.
That is a small area?
It is also heavily wooded. People see things incorrectly in wooded areas. Lily nodded.
Especially before coffee. Thomas ignored her. He looked directly at Ava.
The sheriff is handling it. Ava held his gaze.
I understand. Thomas's expression showed no relief. He knew the difference between Ava understanding an instruction and Ava agreeing with it.
Good.
He returned to Mr. Hale's table. Conversation gradually resumed, but the mood inside Harbor Light had changed. The rescue stories faded. The basement was forgotten. Everyone wanted to discuss the same thing. The woman in red. By 10:30, the story had already expanded. A customer near the window claimed the woman appeared only in fog. Another said she had been seen beside Emily's old walking path. A third insisted the red coat had once belonged to Emily. No one could explain how they knew. Lily began writing each version on a paper napkin. Ava watched her add another line.
What are you doing?
Keeping track. She held up the napkin. At the top she had written, what the woman in red has done so far. Beneath it, walked between trees, ignored 2 people, possibly carried flowers, possibly had no feet. Ava stared at the last line.
No feet? Lily pointed toward an elderly customer in the corner.
He said her coat covered them. Ava tried not to smile.
That is different from having no feet.
I asked for clarification. He became offended. Lucien leaned closer to read the list.
Possibly disappeared into sunlight. Lily nodded.
That came from the baker. Lucien looked through the front window at the cloudy sky.
There was no sunlight this morning.
I know.
Ethan placed another cup beside the list.
What is the only detail everyone agrees on? Lily tapped the heading.
The coat. Ava looked at the growing collection of rumors. Every story changed. The time changed. The distance changed. The woman's height changed. One person described gray hair. Another described black hair. Someone said she was young. Someone else said she walked with a cane. Only one detail remained constant. Red. Lucien seemed to reach the same conclusion.
Either they all saw the same coat. Ethan finished the thought.
Or they are repeating the first-person story. Ava looked toward Thomas. He sat beside Mr. Hale, but he was no longer listening to their conversation. He was watching her, a warning already present in his eyes. Ava turned back toward the napkin.
We don't know enough yet. Thomas spoke from across the room.
And we are going to keep it that way. Lily lowered the napkin. No one answered. Mr. Hale looked from Thomas to Ava. Thathan wisely returned to his breakfast.
Near noon, the crowd finally began to thin. The woman in the brown coat had already spoken to several people outside. Ava could see small groups gathering along the sidewalk. Every time someone gestured toward the eastern woods, the story grew again. By afternoon, half the town would believe Emily had returned. By evening, someone would claim to have spoken with her. By tomorrow, the red coat would have become a warning, a promise, or a ghost. Moonlight Falls had always loved a mystery. It loved one even more when the truth was still far away. Lucien stood beside Ava near the window. For a while, neither spoke. Outside, sunlight moved across the wet streets. The eastern forest appeared calm in the distance. No red coat. No moving figure. Only trees.
You want to go there? It was not a question. Ava folded her arms.
I want to know who she is.
That is usually how it begins. Ava glanced at him.
You sound like Thomas. Lucien considered that?
I am not certain whether to be concerned or offended. Ava smiled briefly, then her attention returned to the forest.
I know Emily is gone. Lucien said nothing. I'm not chasing a ghost. I don't believe she walked out of those trees after all these years. But someone is walking there. Lucien looked at her profile. If she is lost, frightened, or looking for help, I don't want the town's rumors to make everyone afraid of her. Lucien's expression softened.
That is not the only reason. Ava turned toward him. He did not accuse her. He did not need to. Emily's name remained between them. The carved mark beneath harbor light, the hidden map, the old photographs. Every clue made the distance between the past and the present feel smaller. Ava looked down.
Number, it isn't the only reason. Lucien nodded. He appreciated the honesty, even when it worried him. Before he could answer, Lily hurried from behind the counter carrying the napkin.
New report. Ethan followed her.
This one may be useful. Thomas stood immediately.
What happened? Lily placed the napkin on the counter. Her joking expression had disappeared.
A delivery driver saw the woman less than 20 minutes ago. Ava's pulse quickened.
Where? Ethan pointed toward the map.
Old Picnic Road? The same section? Thomas reached for his jacket?
I'll call the sheriff. Ava watched him walk toward the door.
Are you going there? Thomas stopped. He turned slowly.
I am. Ava stepped away from the counter.
Then I'm coming. Thomas's answer filled the room.
Number the few remaining customers became silent again. Ava held his gaze.
You just said the sheriff found nothing.
That is not an invitation.
I know those trails.
So do I?
I can help. Thomas crossed the space between them. His voice lowered, but the anger beneath it became clearer.
You will stay here. Ava did not move.
Why? Thomas stared at her for a moment. He seemed surprised she had asked. Then years of worry appeared on his face all at once.
Because Emily knew those woods too. The room remained completely still. Thomas continued. She knew every trail, every stream, every abandoned road. She believed knowing the ground meant she understood the danger. His voice tightened. She was wrong. Ava's expression changed. Thomas rarely spoke about Emily's disappearance so directly. I will not stand here and watch you follow every story that carries her name.
This is not only about Emily.
It becomes about Emily the moment you hear there may be a connection. Ava opened her mouth. Thomas did not allow her to interrupt. You have her files. You have her photographs. You have already entered a flooded basement because she carved a mark on a wall.
I did not enter the flooded section.
That is not the point. His hand tightened around his jacket. The point is that every clue asks for more. Another room, another tunnel, another road, another place where something can happen before I reach you. Ava heard fear beneath the anger. That did not make the restriction easier to accept.
So I'm supposed to ignore everything she left?
I am asking you to understand what it cost her. Ava's voice became quieter.
I do understand. Thomas shook his head.
Number, you understand the mystery. You do not understand the cost.
Ava became still. The words landed harder than Thomas intended. He saw it immediately. His anger weakened, but he did not take them back.
I am going to the Eastern Road. The sheriff will search the area again. You will stay here. Ava looked away. Thomas waited for an answer. None came. Finally, he turned toward Lucien. Do not help her follow me. Lucien met his gaze. For once, he gave no immediate promise. Thomas noticed. Lucien.
I heard you. It was not the answer Thomas wanted. But another call was already coming through his phone. He looked at the screen, swore quietly beneath his breath, and walked outside. The door closed behind him. Ava watched his truck pull away from harbor light. No one spoke until it disappeared around the corner. Lily slowly picked up the napkin.
That went well. Ethan gave her a look. I know, wrong moment.
Ava returned to the window. The forest remained visible beyond the rooftops, calm. distant, full of unanswered questions. Lucien moved beside her. He did not ask what she planned to do, not yet. Ava rested one hand against the cool glass.
He thinks I'm trying to become her. Lucien looked toward the same distant hills.
Are you? Ava turned sharply. Lucien's expression held no judgment, only concern. She looked back through the window.
A long pause followed, then she added more quietly, I don't think so.
Outside, Thomas's truck climbed the eastern road. Inside Harbor Light, the last customers returned to their meals. Lily folded the rumor list and placed it beneath the counter. Ethan stood near the town map, studying the small area where every sighting had occurred. Lucien remained beside Ava, and far beyond the restaurant windows where the old picnic road entered the trees, a woman in a red coat moved slowly through the forest. She did not look toward town. She did not disappear. She simply lowered her head and searched the wet ground beneath the trees. By early afternoon, the woman in the red coat had been seen by nearly everyone in Moonlight Falls. At least, that was what everyone claimed. The first new report came from Walter, who arrived at Harbor Light carrying a folded newspaper beneath one arm and rain still shining on the shoulders of his coat. He sat at the counter, ordered coffee, and waited until Lily placed the cup in front of him. Then he leaned forward.
I saw her yesterday. Lily reached beneath the counter and pulled out the folded napkin. She opened it carefully. The list had already grown longer.
Time.
Time?
What time did you see her?
Late afternoon. Lily held a pencil above the napkin.
How late? Walter looked toward the ceiling.
After lunch. Ethan stood near the coffee machine drying cups.
That could be any time between 1 and 6. Walter looked offended.
I know when afternoon is. After lunch.
Location.
Eastern Woods.
Specific location. Walter took a slow drink of coffee.
Near the trees. Lily stopped writing.
The eastern woods contain many trees? Walter looked at him.
That is why they call it the woods.
Ava sat at the end of the counter, listening. Thomas had not returned. He had called once to say the sheriff was searching the trail again. No sign had been found. No one appeared injured. No abandoned belongings had been discovered. That should have calmed the town. Instead, the lack of evidence made every story more interesting. Lily placed the pencil against the napkin.
What was the woman doing? Walter lowered his voice.
Standing completely still. Ethan looked at him.
For how long?
I don't know. I drove past. Lily nodded.
So she was standing still for approximately 3 seconds. Walter ignored the comment.
She was watching the road. Ava looked up.
Could you see her face? Walter hesitated.
Not clearly. Lucien sat beside Ava.
Could you see the color of her hair? Walter hesitated again.
It was dark. Lily rode dark hair, then Walter added. Or perhaps gray. Lily looked at him. The light was poor. Lily crossed out dark and wrote dark or gray.
How old was she? Walter considered the question carefully.
Not young. Lily wrote not young. Then Walter leaned closer. But she moved quickly. Ethan looked toward the list.
You said she stood completely still, Walter sighed.
She moved quickly after I passed. Folded her arms.
You watched in the mirror? Walter nodded.
She stepped behind a tree. Lily wrote disappeared behind tree. Walter tapped one finger against the counter. Number. Not behind it, into it. Lily stopped.
Into the tree? Walter's expression became serious.
That is what it looked like. Ethan placed the cup he was drying onto the shelf.
A person cannot walk into a tree. Walter turned toward him.
I did not say she walked into it. Lily waited. Walter lowered his voice again. She vanished.
At a nearby table, 2 customers turned their chairs slightly so they could hear better. Lily looked down at the napkin, then wrote Walter. Woman may have used tree. Ava leaned closer.
Used it for what?
I don't know yet. Walter shook his head.
You young people laugh because you think everything has an explanation. Lucien looked at him calmly.
Most things do. Walter glanced at Lucien.
Most! He finished his coffee, placed money beneath the cup, and left with the dignity of a man who believed future events would prove him correct. The moment the door closed, Lily added another line, possibly vanished. Ethan looked over her shoulder.
That is not useful?
It is historically accurate. Ava watched Walter cross the street. He stopped outside the pharmacy to speak with two women. Within seconds, one of them turned toward the eastern hills. The story was moving again. Lucien rested his hands around his coffee cup.
He saw someone step behind a tree. Ethan nodded.
And decided the tree consumed her. Lily smiled.
That is much more interesting.
The front door opened again. This time, Grace entered with a small boy beside her. The boy wore muddy shoes and carried a blue backpack covered in stars. Grace guided him toward the counter.
He says he saw the red woman. Lily unfolded a fresh napkin. At first it became too crowded. She placed the second beside it. Name. The boy looked at her suspiciously.
Why?
For the official record. Grace tried not to smile. The boy looked impressed.
Owen. Lily wrote Owen. The boy immediately leaned over the counter. That is not how I write it. Lily turned the napkin toward him. His name was written correctly. Owen studied it. It's fine. Ava moved closer.
Where did you see her? Owen pointed toward the window.
By the old picnic road. That answer was more precise than Walter's. Ethan stopped drying cups.
When?
This morning, Grace nodded.
We were driving to school. I didn't see anyone, but Owen was looking out the passenger window. Ava looked at the boy.
What was she doing? Owen answered immediately.
Picking flowers. Everyone became quiet. Lily wrote picking flowers.
What kind? Owen looked confused.
Red ones, Grace frowned.
There are no red flowers along that road right now. Owen shrugged.
Then maybe they were leaves. Ava kept her voice gentle.
Was the woman standing? Owen shook his head.
She was kneeling. Lucien looked toward Ethan. The same thought passed between them. A kneeling person looking at the ground, not watching the road, not vanishing, searching. Ava noticed the exchange.
Did she look at your car? Owen shook his head again.
She didn't see us.
We were moving quickly. Owen looked at Grace.
You were speeding. Grace stared at him.
I was not speeding.
The sign said 30. Grace looked toward Ava.
He reads every sign now. Owen continued.
You were going 37. Grace placed one hand on his shoulder.
We are discussing the woman. Owen looked back at Lily's napkin.
She had a basket. Lily's pencil stopped.
A basket. Owen nodded.
A small one? Grace looked surprised.
You didn't tell me that. Owen shrugged.
You didn't ask. Ava leaned forward.
What color was it? Owen thought.
Brown, Ethan spoke quietly.
Could it have been a bag? Owen narrowed his eyes.
It could have been, Lily added, basket or bag. Lucien looked at Owen.
Did you see her face? Owen nodded. Everyone waited.
She looked normal. Lily slowly lowered the pencil.
Normal.
Yes.
Not transparent. Owen looked confused.
Number?
No glowing eyes.
Number. Lily pointed toward Walter's abandoned cup.
Did she enter a tree? Owen looked toward Grace.
Is she making fun of me? Grace smiled.
Not you. Ava reached across the counter and slid a small plate of cookies toward Owen.
You've been very helpful. Owen immediately took two. Grace thanked them and guided him toward a table. As they walked away, Owen looked over his shoulder.
She was old. Lily looked at the napkin.
How old? Owen studied Lucien.
Older than him? Lucien lifted an eyebrow. Lily covered her mouth. Ethan turned away, but his shoulders moved. Ava smiled despite herself.
That is a broad category. Owen pointed toward Thomas's empty chair.
Younger than him, Ava nodded.
That helps. Owen sat with Grace and immediately began eating both cookies at once. Lily added older than Lucien, younger than Thomas. Lucien looked at her.
Remove the first part. Lily folded the napkin.
The record must remain accurate.
The next report came less than 15 minutes later. A hunter entered through the side door. Mud covered his boots. He wore a faded green jacket and carried no weapon. His expression suggested he had already heard the town's version of what he had seen and did not approve of it. He stopped near the counter.
I did not see a ghost. Lily opened the napkin again.
Excellent beginning. The hunter looked at her.
I saw a woman.
Where?
About half a mile north of the picnic road. That was 2 days ago. Ethan pulled the town map closer.
Near the creek? The hunter nodded.
Ha ha ha! She crossed the shallow section. Lucien looked toward the map.
Was she following the trail?
Numbers she was moving parallel to it. Ava became more attentive.
Did she appear lost? The hunter thought for a moment.
Numbers she moved slowly, stopped often, looked at the ground. Lily wrote searching. The hunter noticed the word. That is what I thought. She was searching for something. Ethan pointed toward the map.
Did she remain in this area? The hunter leaned over the counter. He placed one finger near the creek, then traced a short path south.
Here, I saw her first near the water, then again 10 minutes later near the old stone wall. Ava frowned.
You saw her twice?
I continued west. She moved south. The trails crossed near the wall. Lucien studied the route.
She was circling. The hunter nodded.
Maybe. Lily glanced toward the earlier reports.
What color was her hair? The hunter looked puzzled.
White. Ava looked toward Walter's entry. Dark or gray. Owen had not mentioned hair.
How old?
60. Lily looked impressed.
That was specific. The hunter shrugged.
My wife is 60. She looked about the same. Ethan pointed toward the list.
Was she carrying a basket?
Number a canvas shoulder bag. Lily crossed out basket or bag and wrote canvas bag. The hunter continued. She also had a walking stick. Ava looked up.
Was she injured?
I don't think so. She used it to move leaves. That confirmed it. The woman was not wandering. She was looking beneath leaves. Ava glanced at Lucien. Looked around the restaurant. Someone told my brother she floated across the creek. Lily looked toward him.
Did she?
She stepped on rocks. Lily wrote, did not float. The hunter nodded with satisfaction. Good. He ordered lunch and moved to a table near the window. Ava collected the 2 napkins and placed them side by side. The story was becoming clearer. A woman in a red coat, late 50s or early 60s. White or gray hair, canvas bag, walking stick, repeatedly searching the same section of forest. No sign of injury. No attempt to approach the road. No evidence she was hiding. Lucien read the notes.
She may not know anyone has noticed her. Ethan nodded.
The reports all come from people passing at a distance?
And she never approached anyone. Lily tapped Walter's entry.
Except the tree. Ethan looked at her. Lily folded the first napkin so Walter's report disappeared. Removed from consideration.
For several minutes, it seemed they had finally separated the useful details from the rumors. Then Nora arrived. She entered Harbor Light wearing a wide purple scarf and carrying a paper bag from the bakery. She looked around the room before crossing directly toward Ava.
I hear you are collecting statements. Lily placed both napkins flat on the counter.
We are now. Nora set the bakery bag down.
I saw her last night. Ava frowned.
After dark? Nora nodded.
Just before 8. Ethan checked the clock on the wall as though confirming the hour still existed.
Where were you?
Driving home from Margaret's. Ava knew the road. It passed the southern edge of the eastern woods.
Where did you see the woman?
Near the old mile marker. Ethan pointed to the map. That location was farther south than the other sightings, but not by much. She stood beneath the trees, perfectly still. Lily glanced toward Walter's folded report.
We have heard that part before. Nora leaned closer.
She was holding something. Ava waited. A bouquet. Lily looked toward Owen's entry. Picking flowers. Possible basket, Ava asked.
What kind of flowers? Nora pressed her lips together.
I could not see clearly. The headlights passed too quickly. Ethan folded his arms.
Did she look toward the car? Nora shook her head.
Number. She looked down. Lucien spoke quietly.
Could it have been leaves or branches in her hands? Nora considered that.
Possibly. Lily wrote holding something. Nora looked at the list. You have not written the important part. Lily raised the pencil.
What is the important part? Nora's voice lowered.
She wore Emily's coat. Ava felt the room shift again. Several people nearby turned toward the counter. Thomas was still absent. The claim spread through the room before anyone responded. Emily's coat. Ava looked at Nora.
How would you know? Nora seemed surprised by the question.
Everyone remembers it. Ava did not. She remembered photographs. Emily smiling beside the river. Emily standing near harbor light. Emily wearing dark jackets, pale sweaters, and once a blue scarf Thomas still kept in a box. But no red coat stood out in Ava's memory.
What did it look like? Nora lifted both hands.
Red. Lily waited. Long. Lily looked down at her pencil.
That describes many coats. Nora frowned.
It had large buttons. Ava turned toward Lucien. He watched Nora carefully.
How close were you? Nora hesitated.
The road is perhaps 40 yards from the trees. Ethan looked at her.
At night, Nora's expression stiffened.
My eyesight is excellent. Lily looked toward the large glasses resting on Nora's nose. She wisely said nothing. Ava spoke gently.
Did you ever see Emily wearing that coat yourself? Nora's certainty weakened.
I remember photographs.
Which photographs? Nora looked around the room, searching for support. No one answered. Finally, she said,
Perhaps Margaret has one. Ava nodded.
Then we should check before saying it belonged to Emily. Nora lifted the bakery bag from the counter.
I said it looked like her coat. Lily glanced at the notes.
Number. You said it was her coat. Nora gave Lily a sharp look, then carried the bag to a table near the window. Within moments, she was whispering to the woman beside her. The phrase Emily's coat crossed the room again. Ava looked down at the napkins. The useful details were already disappearing beneath the newer story. Lucien spoke quietly.
This is why Thomas is angry. Ava looked at him. Not because someone is in the woods. Because no one can see her clearly without turning her into Emily. Ava's fingers rested on the edge of the counter.
I'm not doing that.
I know. He paused. But part of you wants one of these details to connect. Ava looked toward the town map. The mark beneath harbor light. The hidden tunnel. Emily's photographs. Every discovery had taught Ava that apparently ordinary things could carry meaning for decades. A red coat could be only a coat. A woman searching the ground could be looking for something simple. But Emily had once walked those woods. Emily had hidden clues across Moonlight Falls. It was impossible not to wonder.
Wanting to understand isn't the same as believing a rumor, Lucien nodded.
Number, it isn't. But his concern remained.
The afternoon continued. The stories arrived one by one. A delivery driver said the woman walked with a limp. A cyclist insisted she moved normally. A teenager saw no woman at all but claimed to have found red thread on a branch. Lily examined the thread and identified it as plastic ribbon from a torn trail marker. An elderly couple reported seeing the woman beside the creek. The husband said she carried a shovel. The wife said it was an umbrella. They argued for 10 minutes and left without agreeing. A baker claimed the woman vanished into sunlight. When Ethan pointed out that the morning had been cloudy, the baker changed the phrase to mist. A fisherman said she stood beside the water, then admitted he had only seen a red shape reflected between the trees. Ava began transferring the reports from napkins onto a sheet of paper. She separated what witnesses had directly observed from what they believed. Direct observations: red coat, older woman, gray or white hair, canvas bag, walking stick, searching the ground, repeatedly moving through the same limited area. Everything else belonged in a second column. Possibly Emily, possibly carrying flowers, possibly carrying a shovel, possibly vanished, possibly walked into a tree. Lily read over Ava's shoulder.
The second column is better.
The second column is useless.
It is more entertaining. Ethan stood on Ava's other side. He traced the confirmed sightings on the map. Small pencil marks formed a loose oval between the old picnic road, the creek, and the stone wall.
She has stayed inside this area for at least 3 days. Lucien looked at the map.
Perhaps longer, Ava nodded.
The first person may not have noticed her immediately. Lily pointed toward the oval.
If she were lost, she would probably have reached the road by now.
Unless she was injured.
No one described an injury. Lucien studied the route.
And she appears to leave before dark. Ava looked toward Nora.
Nora said she saw her at 8. Lily lowered her voice.
Nora also identified a coat from 40 yards away in the dark. Ava accepted the point. Ethan tapped the old stone wall on the map.
The hunter said she moved leaves with the walking stick. Ava looked at him.
You think she lost something?
I think that is the simplest explanation. Lucien's gaze moved over the pencil marks.
She returns to the same ground slowly. Methodically, he looked toward Ava. She is searching.
The front door opened. Thomas entered with mud on his boots and frustration written across his face. The room became noticeably quieter. He removed his jacket and looked toward Ava, then toward the map, then toward the sheets of notes spread across the counter.
What is this? Lily answered before Ava could.
Community research. Thomas looked at the napkins. Some of it is less reliable than the rest. Thomas picked up the first napkin. He read, possibly vanished, possibly used tree. He slowly looked at Lily. That section has been excluded. Thomas placed the napkin down.
The sheriff searched the area. Ava stood.
And?
No one was there. Ethan looked at the map.
Which part did they search? Thomas's eyes narrowed.
The trails. Ava pointed toward the oval.
She isn't staying on the trails. Thomas looked at the pencil marks. He saw immediately that the sightings formed a pattern. For one brief moment, his expression changed interest. Then caution replaced it.
These are rumors.
Not all of them. She handed him the clean sheet. 6 separate witnesses saw an older woman searching the ground. 3 mentioned a canvas bag. 2 saw her moving leaves with a stick. The locations are all within the same small area. Thomas read the page. He did not dismiss it immediately. That alone told Ava the notes were stronger than he wanted them to be.
I'll give this to the sheriff. Ava looked at him.
And then?
He can search beyond the trail.
I can show him the exact locations?
Number the answer came too quickly. Ava drew a breath.
Thomas.
Number the restaurant became quiet again. Thomas lowered his voice. You have helped. You collected the reports. You found the pattern. That is enough. Ava looked toward the map.
It may not be enough for her. Thomas placed the sheet in his jacket pocket.
If she needs assistance, the sheriff will find her. Lily leaned against the counter.
He already searched twice. Thomas looked at her. I am only stating the official record. Thomas turned back to Ava.
You are not going into those woods. Ava held his gaze. Not this afternoon. Not tonight. Not tomorrow morning. His eyes moved toward Lucien and Ethan. And none of you are taking her. Ethan remained silent. Lily looked away. Lucien did not.
What if the sheriff finds no one again? Thomas's jaw tightened.
Then no one is there. Lucien glanced toward the map.
Someone is there. Thomas stepped closer.
You do not know that. Lucien's voice remained calm.
Neither do you.
The two men stared at each other. Thomas was not accustomed to Lucien challenging him openly. Lucien rarely did. That made the moment more serious. Ava moved between them before the argument could deepen.
No one is going anywhere now. Thomas looked at her. She had chosen the word now carefully. He heard it. We'll wait for the sheriff's report. Thomas watched her for several seconds, then nodded once.
Good. He turned toward Mr. Hale's empty table and sat heavily in the nearest chair. The search had exhausted him more than he wanted anyone to see. Ava gathered the napkins. Lily helped fold the map. Ethan returned to the coffee machine. The room slowly regained its noise, but the argument remained unfinished.
Near sunset, the sheriff called. Thomas answered from the corner table. Everyone in Harbor Light pretended not to listen. Thomas said very little. Yes, number I understand. Then he ended the call. Ava stood beside the counter.
They found nothing. Thomas slipped the phone into his pocket.
No one. No shelter. No fresh tracks they could separate from the search teams. Lily looked toward the window.
So everyone imagined her. Thomas rubbed one hand across his forehead.
I didn't say that. Ethan folded his arms.
She may have left before they arrived, Thomas nodded.
Exactly. Ava watched him.
Or she moved deeper into the trees when she heard them. Thomas looked up.
We are finished with this for tonight. Ava did not answer. Thomas stood. I mean it. He looked toward Lucien. Do not encourage her. Then toward Ethan. Do not drive her. Then Lily. And you are not going either. Lily widened her eyes.
I haven't said anything. Thomas pointed toward the folded rumor list in her hand.
You wrote community research at the top. Lily looked at the page.
That was for organization. Thomas picked up his jacket.
I have to return to the station. He looked at Ava one last time. Go home when Harbor Light closes, Ava nodded. Thomas left, the front door shut. His truck started outside and drove toward the town square. For a long moment, no one spoke. Then Lily placed the folded paper on the counter.
He gave very specific instructions. Ethan looked toward her.
Yes, Lily glanced at Ava.
He must think we are planning something. Ava looked through the window at the darkening hills.
We aren't. Lucien studied her expression.
Not yet. Ava turned toward him. He knew her too well. That realization unsettled her. It also made something inside her feel less alone.
Outside, the last light faded from Moonlight Falls. The eastern woods became a dark line beneath the evening sky. Inside Harbor Light, the rumor list lay folded beside the register. Most of it was contradictory. Some of it was ridiculous. But beneath all the stories, a simple picture had emerged: an older woman, a red coat, a canvas bag, a walking stick. The same small section of forest, and a search that had continued for days. The town believed she was Emily. Ava did not. But she was beginning to believe the truth might matter just as much. The next morning, the rain had finally stopped. Moonlight Falls woke beneath a clear sky. Water still filled the ditches beside the eastern road, and fallen branches lay stacked along the sidewalks. But sunlight had returned. Harbor Light opened early. Ava arrived before the first customers. She carried the town map beneath one arm and the cleaned witness notes inside a folder. Lily was already behind the counter, arranging pastries in the display case. Ethan stood on a chair near the front window, fastening the curtain rod that had loosened during the storm. Lucien entered through the kitchen carrying 2 wooden crates of bottled water. Lily looked toward Ava's folder.
You brought the evidence. Ava placed it on the counter.
I brought notes?
Evidence sounds better. Ethan stepped down from the chair.
Thomas will disagree. Ava removed her coat.
Thomas disagrees with everything before breakfast. Lucien placed the crates beside the pantry door.
He disagreed after breakfast yesterday. Lily closed the pastry case.
That was a difficult day.
Ava opened the folder. She had rewritten every useful report names. times, locations, what each witness had actually observed. She had removed everything that depended on rumor. No ghosts, no vanishing, no trees swallowing people. The remaining information still showed a clear pattern. 7 sightings, 4 days, 1 limited section of forest, a woman who repeatedly searched the ground. Ethan leaned over the map.
The southern sighting is probably wrong. He pointed toward Nora's report. She saw the figure after dark from a moving car? Ava nodded.
I marked it separately. Lucien studied the other points.
Without that sighting, the area becomes even smaller. Lily placed a pastry beside him.
You think better when fed. Lucien looked at it.
Is that scientifically proven?
Yes, by me.
The front door opened before Lucien could answer. Thomas entered with the sheriff beside him. The sheriff wore a brown uniform jacket and carried mud on both boots. Ava immediately noticed his tired expression. They had searched again. Thomas noticed the folder. His mouth tightened.
You continued. Ava closed the map.
I organized what we already had. Thomas looked toward the sheriff.
This is what I was talking about. The sheriff removed his hat.
I don't mind looking at the notes. Thomas turned sharply.
That is not the issue. Ava watched the sheriff.
Did you search beyond the trail? The sheriff nodded.
We covered the creek, the stone wall, and the lower ridge. Ethan folded his arms.
Any tracks?
Too many. Search teams, hikers, storm cleanup crews. The ground near the creek is badly disturbed. Lucien stepped closer to the map.
Did you find any sign of a camp? The sheriff shook his head.
No tent, no fire, no food, no vehicle. Lily leaned against the counter.
So she comes and leaves every day. The sheriff looked toward her.
That is possible. Thomas immediately interrupted.
For the sightings are unrelated. Ava reopened the folder.
They describe the same coat, the same age range, and the same behavior. Thomas looked at her.
They describe what they heard other people describe.
Not all of them. She handed the sheriff the clean report. The hunter gave his statement before he heard the town rumors. He described the canvas bag and the walking stick. The child saw her kneeling near the picnic road. Neither of them mentioned Emily. The sheriff read the page. Thomas watched him.
You have already searched. The sheriff nodded slowly.
We have.
And found no one.
That is true. Ava looked toward the sheriff.
But you believe someone is there. The sheriff hesitated. Thomas noticed.
Do not encourage this. The sheriff lowered the paper.
I believe several people saw a woman. That does not mean she is in danger.
It also does not mean she isn't. Thomas stepped between Ava and the map.
The sheriff has done his job. Ava's voice remained calm.
I didn't say he hadn't.
Then let this end. Ava looked at him.
It won't end because you tell people to stop seeing her. Thomas's jaw tightened. The sheriff glanced toward the empty tables. Only Lily, Ethan, and Lucien were present still. He seemed uncomfortable standing inside a family argument.
I can send one deputy through the area again this afternoon. Thomas turned toward him.
That is unnecessary. Ava spoke at the same time.
Thank you. Thomas stared at her. I can mark the strongest sightings.
Number the word struck the quiet restaurant sharply. Ava slowly lowered the folder.
I am showing him a map.
And then you will ask to go.
I haven't.
You will. Lily looked toward Ethan. Neither moved. Lucien remained near the counter watching Thomas carefully. The sheriff placed the report back on the map.
I know the locations now. I don't need anyone to come. Thomas nodded.
Good. Ava looked toward the sheriff.
What time are you searching? Thomas turned back to her.
That is enough. The sheriff put on his hat.
I'll let you know if we find anything. Ava nodded. Thomas walked him toward the door. Before leaving, the sheriff looked once toward Ava, then toward the map. His expression suggested he understood more than he intended to say. The door closed behind him. Thomas remained facing the glass. Outside, the sheriff crossed the street toward his vehicle. Inside Harbor Light. Silence settled over the room. Ava began collecting the papers. Thomas turned.
What do you think you are doing? Ava did not look up.
Helping?
Number. You are building a reason to enter those woods. Ava slid the witness reports into the folder.
Someone may need help.
The sheriff will decide that.
The sheriff has searched twice and found nothing.
Then perhaps there is nothing to find. Ava finally looked at him.
You don't believe that? Thomas's expression hardened. You believe the woman is real? You are afraid of why I want to find her. Thomas stepped closer.
I'm afraid because you do not know when to stop. Ava stared at him.
That sounds familiar. Thomas became still. The reference to Emily was clear. Lily looked down. Ethan moved away from the counter. Lucien remained where he was. Thomas's voice became lower.
Do not use her against me.
I'm not.
You are comparing yourself to her.
You did that first.
Thomas looked as though she had struck him. Ava regretted the words immediately, but the anger had already carried both of them too far. Thomas placed both hands on the back of a chair.
I spent years wondering which moment I should have stopped her. Ava's expression changed. Thomas rarely spoke of those years. When he did, he spoke in fragments. A missed call, a locked drawer, a coat left near the door. Never the whole weight of it. She always had a reason. Somebody might need help. A photograph might matter. A road might lead somewhere. One more question, one more place. His fingers tightened around the chair. And every time I said no, she smiled and told me she understood. Ava looked down. Thomas continued. She never understood. She only waited until I was not looking. The words filled the restaurant. Lily's face lost all trace of humor. Ethan stood completely still. Lucien watched Ava. Thomas looked at her with anger shaped entirely by fear. I will not do this again. Ava swallowed.
I am not Emily.
Then stop following her. The silence after those words was immediate and painful. Ava stepped back. Thomas's expression shifted. He knew he had gone too far, but fear kept him from apologizing.
You think every question I ask belongs to her?
That is not what I said.
It is exactly what you said. She lifted the folder. I saw the pattern. Ethan saw it. Lucien saw it. Lily saw it. This is not Emily speaking through me. It is me. Thomas shook his head.
You found the pattern because Emily taught you to look for one.
She taught everyone.
And look what it cost. Ava's eyes flashed.
You keep talking about the cost as though curiosity killed her. Thomas stared at her. We do not know what happened.
That is the problem. His voice broke slightly. We do not know. We never found her. We never brought her home. And now every time you walk toward one of her secrets, I see the same door opening again.
Ava's anger weakened. For a moment, she saw Thomas not as the man trying to control her, but as the man who had waited years for someone who never returned. Still, the fear did not make his decision right.
You can't protect me by making every choice for me. Thomas straightened.
I can stop you from walking into the eastern woods.
For how long? Thomas did not answer. Today? Tomorrow? What happens when the next clue appears somewhere else? Thomas looked away. Ava continued. You cannot keep me inside Harbor Light until the past disappears.
I am not asking you to stay inside.
You are asking me to ignore anything that frightens you. Thomas turned back.
I am asking you to stay alive.
And I am asking you to trust me. Thomas's answer came after a long pause.
I trusted Emily. Ava went completely still. Thomas's face changed the moment he heard himself. The words were not meant as cruelty. But they landed that way. Ava closed the folder. Her voice became quiet.
I see. Lucien stepped forward.
Thomas lifted one hand.
Number Lucien did not stop.
She is not asking you to forget what happened. Thomas turned toward him.
This is between Ava and me.
Then speak to Ava, not to the person you lost. Thomas's eyes sharpened. For several seconds, the two men faced each other. Ava looked at Lucien. He had spoken calmly, but the meaning was unmistakable. Thomas was fighting Emily's choices through Ava. Thomas knew it too. His anger shifted toward Lucien because the truth was harder to face than the argument.
You have known her for a few months.
That does not make her invisible to me. Thomas's expression became colder.
You think following her makes you loyal?
Number, I think listening to her makes me loyal. Thomas stepped closer.
And when listening leads her into danger? Lucien held his gaze.
Then I stand beside her. Thomas laughed once without humor.
That is exactly what I am afraid of. Ava moved between them.
Stop! Both men looked toward her. This is my decision, Thomas answered immediately.
Number Ava's voice hardened.
Yes? Thomas pointed toward the eastern windows.
You are not going into those woods.
I did not say I was going today.
You are not going at all. Ava met his eyes.
You cannot order me forever. Thomas's hand fell to his side.
Perhaps not. But while this town is chasing Emily's shadow, I can ask you not to become part of the chase. Ava shook her head.
That woman is not a shadow. She is a person. Thomas's voice rose.
You do not know that.
Neither do you?
The same words Lucien had used the previous day returned. Thomas heard them. His expression closed. He picked up his jacket.
The deputy will search this afternoon. You will stay in town. Ava said nothing. Thomas looked toward Ethan. You will not drive her. Ethan's expression remained neutral.
I heard you? Thomas turned toward Lily.
You will not follow. Lily folded her arms.
I heard you too. Finally, Thomas looked at Lucien.
And you? Lucien did not respond. Thomas waited. I expect an answer. Lucien's voice was quiet.
I will not lie to you. Thomas stared at him.
What does that mean?
It means I will not promise to abandon Ava if she decides to go. Ava looked toward him. Thomas's face hardened.
You are making this worse. Lucien shook his head.
Number, the fear was already here. I am only refusing to pretend it is the same thing as authority. Thomas stepped back. For a moment, Ava thought he might continue. Instead, he opened the door. Cold morning air entered the restaurant.
If any of you go into those woods, he stopped. The threat never came. There was nothing he could say that would not reveal how powerless he felt. He looked at Ava one last time. Please. The single word carried more weight than every command before it. Then he left. The door closed behind him. No one moved until his truck started outside. Ava watched it pull away. Her anger remained. So did the guilt. Lily approached the counter slowly.
He should not have said that. Ava looked down at the folder.
He meant it. Ethan stood across from her.
He meant that he is afraid?
That does not make it less true. Lucien moved closer.
It does not make it true at all. Ava looked at him. He held her gaze. You are not Emily. You do not owe anyone proof of that. Ava pressed one hand against the folder.
He thinks I'm repeating her mistakes, Lucien answered carefully.
You may make mistakes. So may I. So may Thomas. He glanced toward the door. But your choices belong to you. Ava looked away. Outside, morning traffic moved through the square. People carried groceries. Workers repaired a roof. 2 children crossed the street holding hands. Ordinary life continued while the argument remained inside her. Lily unfolded the map again. She did not place it in front of Ava. She only looked at the penciled oval.
The deputy will search the obvious places. Ethan nodded.
And if the woman hears him, she may move away. Lucien looked toward Ava. He did not ask what she would do. He waited. Ava stared at the eastern woods through the window. Thomas's final word returned, please, for several seconds. She almost accepted it. Then she remembered the hunter's description. A woman moving leaves with a stick, returning day after day, searching for something she had not found. Ava closed her eyes briefly. When she opened them, her decision was not yet complete, but it had begun.
We wait for the deputy's report. Lily looked at her.
And after that? Ava turned away from the window.
After that, we decide what the truth requires.
No one answered. They all understood. Thomas had said no. Not as a sheriff. Not as a guardian. As a man who had already lost one person to the woods and could not bear to imagine losing another. Ava understood his fear. She carried part of it herself. But understanding fear did not always mean obeying it. Outside, beyond the roads and rooftops, sunlight moved across the eastern trees. Somewhere beneath them, a woman in a red coat continued searching the ground. The deputy returned shortly before sunset. He found no one. No red coat. No canvas bag. No walking stick. No sign of a camp. He had searched the creek bank, the old stone wall, and the lower ridge. He had called into the trees and waited for an answer. Nothing answered. Thomas sent the report to Ava in a message containing only 6 words. They found no one. Stay home. Ava read it twice, then placed her phone face down on the counter. Harbor Light remained busy until nearly 9. The deputies' unsuccessful search did nothing to stop the rumors. It only gave the town more room to invent explanations. Some said the woman had heard the search team coming. Others said she appeared only to people traveling alone. Walter returned for dinner and quietly informed 3 customers that ordinary search methods would not work on someone capable of entering trees. Lily refused to add the statement to the official notes. By closing time, Ava's patience had worn thin. The last customers left reluctantly. Lily locked the front door behind them and turned the sign to closed. Ethan stacked chairs on the tables. Lucien carried trays into the kitchen. Ava stood behind the counter, sorting receipts she had already sorted twice. No one mentioned the eastern woods. That silence made the subject feel larger. Lily wiped the last table.
I'm going upstairs. Ava looked toward her.
You usually stay until we finish. Lily folded the cloth.
Tonight I am unusually tired. Ethan lifted 2 chairs at once.
She has been yawning for almost 20 seconds. Lily looked at him.
It could become serious. Ethan carried the chairs toward the wall. You should probably walk me home. Ethan glanced toward the staircase leading to the rooms above Harbor Light.
You live upstairs? Lily nodded.
It is a difficult journey.
Ava watched them. Lily avoided her eyes. Ethan did not. He looked toward Lucien, then toward Ava, and understood exactly what Lily was doing. He placed the chairs down.
I should make certain she arrives safely. Lucien leaned against the kitchen doorway.
That seems wise. Lily pointed toward him.
Finally, someone understands the danger. Ava folded her arms.
You are both leaving us alone on purpose. Lily widened her eyes.
I would never interfere so obviously. Ethan opened the door to the staircase.
She would? Lily stepped through.
Good night. Ava shook her head.
Good night. Ethan followed Lily upstairs. The door closed behind them. Silence settled over Harbor Light. Not complete silence. The refrigerator hummed behind the counter. Water moved through the pipes. A clock ticked above the pantry door. Outside, tires whispered over the damp street. Lucien returned to the kitchen. Ava continued sorting receipts. A minute later, he came back carrying 2 cups of coffee. He placed one beside her. It's too late for coffee.
You have said that before.
And then I stayed awake until 3.
You were already going to stay awake. Ava looked at the cup. He had added exactly enough milk. No sugar, he remembered.
That is not the point. Lucien took the stool across from her.
What is the point? Ava picked up the cup.
That you are encouraging bad decisions. Lucien looked toward the town map resting beneath the counter.
Thomas would agree. Ava's hand tightened slightly around the cup. The warmth moved into her fingers. She looked down at the coffee.
He shouldn't have spoken to you that way. Lucien shook his head.
He spoke from fear.
That does not excuse everything.
Number, it does not. Ava took a drink. The coffee was stronger than usual. She needed it. Lucien watched her quietly. He had learned not to fill every silence. That made it harder for Ava to hide inside one.
You think he is right? Lucien's expression changed.
About what?
About me. Lucien leaned forward slightly.
Number Ava looked at him.
You hesitated?
I was deciding which part you meant. Ava set down the cup.
The part where he thinks I am following Emily. Lucien's gaze moved briefly toward the dark windows.
You are following her clues. Ava looked away. That is not the same as becoming her.
But Lucien did not answer immediately. Ava gave a short, tired laugh. There is always a but.
You asked for honesty.
I know. She folded one receipt and unfolded it again. Go ahead. Lucien rested both hands around his cup.
Every time we find something Emily left, you become more certain there is another answer waiting. Ava nodded.
Because there usually is?
Yes. That is what concerns me. Ava frowned.
The fact that she planned carefully?
The fact that she may have planned carefully enough to keep you searching forever. The words stopped Ava's hands. She looked at him. Lucien continued gently. One photograph leads to a mark. The mark leads to a tunnel. The tunnel leads to a map. Now a woman appears in the woods, and before we know who she is, Emily is already in the room with us? Ava looked toward the empty tables. Emily's name did seem to change a room. It entered conversations before evidence. It shaped Thomas's fear. It changed the way Ava looked at every old object.
I didn't start the rumor.
Number, you questioned it. Ava waited. But you also hoped there might be something beneath it. She looked down. That was true. She did not believe the woman was Emily. She had never believed that. But a hidden part of her had still wanted the red coat to connect to something Emily left behind. Ava disliked hearing that hope spoken aloud.
Is that wrong? Lucien shook his head.
Number, it is human. He paused. But it is not harmless. Ava's expression tightened.
You think I am putting everyone in danger.
I think you are willing to enter danger when you believe the past is waiting on the other side. Ava looked toward him.
You came into the flooded basement.
Yes?
You followed the map?
Yes.
You have helped with every clue.
Yes, his agreement came without defense. That frustrated her more.
Then why does this sound like judgment? Lucien's voice remained calm.
It is not judgment, it is fear. Ava became still. He looked down at the coffee between his hands. For the first time that evening, he appeared uncertain. Thomas is not the only person who is afraid. The anger inside Ava weakened. She sat across from him.
What are you afraid of? Lucien looked at her. For several seconds, he seemed to consider giving a simpler answer. He did not.
That one day Emily will leave a clue somewhere I cannot follow. Ava's breath caught slightly. Lucien continued. And you will go anyway.
I would not ask you to.
That is not what I mean. His voice was quiet, but it interrupted her completely. I am not afraid you will ask too much of me. I am afraid you will decide you do not need to ask at all. Ava stared at him. Lucien looked toward the dark window. Their reflections appeared faintly in the glass, Ava behind the counter. Lucien seated across from her, near each other, separated by only a few feet. You have spent most of your life learning how to continue after people leave. Ava's fingers tightened around the edge of the counter. He had never said it that directly. You continue when Thomas closes a door. You continue when answers disappear. You continued after Emily. Ava looked down. That strength is part of what I love about you. The word passed between them without warning, love. Lucien did not withdraw it. Ava did not breathe for a moment. He continued before she could respond. But sometimes your strength becomes a room with no entrance. You decide what must be done. You carry it alone. And everyone beside you only discovers the decision when you are already walking away. Ava swallowed.
I don't walk away from you. Lucien looked at her.
Not yet. The answer hurt because it was honest. Ava stepped out from behind the counter. She moved toward the nearest table, then stopped beside it. The restaurant felt too small, or perhaps the conversation had become too large for the space.
You think Emily is pulling me away from you? Lucien stood.
I think the questions she left make you feel responsible for finishing what she began. Ava turned toward him.
She was my mother?
I know.
She disappeared without telling me why.
I know.
She left pieces of the truth all over this town.
I know. Ava's voice rose.
Then what am I supposed to do? Walk past them? Pretend I don't see them? Let Thomas lock everything away because he is afraid. Lucien crossed the room slowly. He stopped several feet from her.
Number Ava waited. I am asking whether finding Emily has become the only way you know how to remain close to her. Ava's anger vanished. The question reached somewhere deeper than the argument. She looked away, outside. The streetlights cast pale circles across the wet pavement. A truck passed without stopping. The town looked peaceful. Ava did not feel peaceful.
I don't know, Lucien nodded. He did not demand more. That made the answer easier and harder at the same time. Ava touched the back of a chair. When I was younger, everyone told me to remember the good things, her voice, the way she laughed, the songs she liked. She stared toward the empty stage near the front windows. But memories change. You remember remembering them, then one day you cannot tell which part is real. Lucien listened. The clues are different. They are still here. A photograph is still a photograph. A mark is still cut into stone. She touched those things. She chose them. Her voice softened. When I find one, for a moment she is not only someone I lost, she is someone who expected me to understand. Lucien's expression changed with quiet pain.
And if you never understand everything, Ava did not answer. She had never allowed herself to imagine that possibility. The clues had created a promise. Not one Emily had spoken, but one Ava had built. Follow far enough. Look carefully enough, find enough pieces, and eventually the loss would become an explanation. Lucien took another step. What if there is no final message? Ava looked at him. What if the last clue only leads to another place she once stood? Will you keep searching because stopping feels like losing her again? Ava's eyes burned. She turned away before the emotion became visible.
You make it sound like I have a choice, Lucien answered gently.
You do. She laughed once quietly.
Thomas believes choice is the problem?
Thomas wants to remove the road. I am asking you to remember you can leave it. Ava looked back at him.
And if I don't want to? Lucien held her gaze.
Then I will still walk beside you. Ava's chest tightened, he added, but I need to know you see me there. The words settled between them. Ava understood at last what he had been trying to say. Lucien was not afraid of Emily as a rival. He was not jealous of a dead woman's place in Ava's heart. He feared becoming part of the search itself, a useful companion, a protector, someone who opened doors and carried maps. Someone Ava needed only because Emily had left another clue. Lucien looked down briefly. Sometimes I wonder whether you need me or whether you need what I can help you find. Ava opened her mouth. The answer should have come immediately. It did not. Not because she did not care for him, because the question demanded more than reassurance. Lucien saw the hesitation. He nodded once, not angrily. That made it worse.
Lucien?
You do not have to answer tonight. Ava stepped toward him.
That isn't fair?
Number, it is honest.
You said you love me. Lucien's gaze returned to hers.
I do. The certainty in his voice left no room for doubt.
And then you tell me not to answer?
I do not want an answer given because you are afraid I will leave. Ava looked at him. I am not leaving. He paused. But I do not want to become another clue you hold tightly only because you have lost too many things. Ava's face softened. She moved closer until only a small space remained between them.
You are not a clue, Lucien watched her.
Then what am I? The question was quiet. Ava felt the answer inside her. But it was tangled with fear, grief, responsibility, and everything the past had taught her not to trust. She could not offer him a careless word. Not when he had given her the truth. Ava looked down at his hand. She almost reached for it. Then stopped.
I don't know how to say it yet. Lucien's expression held pain but also understanding.
Then do not say it yet. He stepped back. The small movement created more distance than it should have. Ava hated it immediately. Lucien returned to the counter and lifted both coffee cups. One was empty, the other had gone cold. He carried them toward the kitchen. Ava remained beside the table.
Are you angry? Lucien stopped in the doorway.
Number?
Disappointed? He thought before answering.
Afraid. The word returned. Thomas's fear had arrived as commands. Lucien's fear arrived as honesty. Ava did not know which was harder to carry. Lucien entered the kitchen. Water began running in the sink. Ava looked through the front window again. The eastern woods were invisible at night, hidden beyond the town and hills. But she could feel them waiting. A woman in a red coat had searched there for days. Thomas had ordered Ava to stay away. Lucien had promised to walk beside her while quietly wondering whether she truly saw him. Ava closed her eyes. Emily's clues had always seemed like a path leading toward answers. For the first time, Ava wondered what the path might be leading her away from.
Lucien returned a few minutes later wearing his coat. He turned off the lights above the counter. Only the small lamp near the entrance remained.
I'll walk you home. Ava looked at him.
You don't have to. Lucien opened the door. Cool night air moved into harbor light.
I know. Ava collected her coat. They stepped outside together. Lucien locked the door behind them. For most of the walk, neither spoke. Their shoulders nearly touched. Their hands did not, at Ava's gate. Lucien stopped. Good night.
Good night. He turned toward the road. Ava watched him take several steps. Lucien. He stopped and looked back. Ava wanted to answer the question. She wanted to tell him that he was not merely the person beside her when Emily's clues appeared. She wanted to say she noticed the quiet way he remembered her coffee, the way he listened before speaking, the way the world felt steadier when he entered a room. But the words remained caught behind everything she had not yet faced. Be careful going home. Lucien's expression softened slightly.
I will. He continued down the road. Ava stood at the gate until he disappeared around the corner. Then she entered the house alone. Her phone waited on the kitchen table. Another message had arrived from Thomas. Promise me you will not go. Ava stared at the words. She did not reply. Far beyond the windows, beneath a clear night sky, the eastern woods waited in silence.
Ava barely slept. Every time she closed her eyes, two conversations returned. Thomas's voice, then Lucien's. Neither sentence left room for easy rest. By 6:30 the next morning, sunlight had already filled Moonlight Falls. The storm felt farther away. Children walked toward the elementary school carrying oversized backpacks. A landscaping crew loaded broken branches into a trailer beside the town square. Harbor Light opened an hour later than usual. The owner had finally agreed to replace several damaged shelves in the pantry. The restaurant smelled of fresh lumber mixed with coffee. Lily arrived carrying a paper bag nearly as large as herself.
I brought breakfast. Ethan looked inside.
You brought enough breakfast for 12 people? Lily nodded. I was hungry. Ethan counted the sandwiches. There are 11. Lily took one immediately. There are 10 now.
Lucien unlocked the front entrance while Ava arranged cups behind the counter. The morning passed quietly. Too quietly. No one mentioned the woman in red. That worried Ava more than another rumor would have. Rumors faded. Questions did not. Just after 10, Thomas stopped outside Harbor Light. He did not come inside. Instead, he knocked once on the front window. Ava walked outside. Thomas stood beside his truck. His expression was calmer than yesterday. That alone made Ava cautious.
I spoke with the deputy. Ava waited. No sightings since yesterday afternoon. Ava nodded.
Maybe she left? Thomas seemed to hope so.
Perhaps. He hesitated. I shouldn't have said what I said yesterday. Ava looked at him. Thomas rarely apologized. When he did, every word mattered. You are not Emily. Ava remained silent. Thomas continued. I know that. Another pause. But I still worry. Ava's expression softened.
I know. Thomas looked toward Harbor Light. Lucien could be seen carrying boxes through the dining room. Lily was talking animatedly while Ethan unsuccessfully attempted to organize receipts. Everything looked normal. Thomas wanted it to stay that way.
Let the sheriff handle this. Ava did not promise. Thomas noticed. He sighed quietly. I'll check again this evening. He returned to his truck. Before getting inside, he looked back once more. Be patient. Then he drove away.
Ava watched until the truck disappeared. She wanted to make things easier for him. She truly did. But every report pointed toward the same place. The eastern woods, the same small section. The same careful search. Back inside Harbor Light, Lucien looked up from unloading supplies.
He apologized. Ava nodded.
In his own way, Lucien smiled faintly.
That qualifies as a full apology. Lily appeared beside them carrying another sandwich.
Did he forbid anything this time?
Not directly. Lily looked relieved.
Progress.
Just before noon, the restaurant became busy again. Construction workers arrived together. 2 teachers ordered lunch before returning to school. Several tourists stopped after seeing Harbor Light mentioned in a local newspaper following the storm rescue. For nearly 2 hours, no one had time to think about the eastern woods. Then the front bell rang. A young woman hurried inside. She looked out of breath. Her bicycle helmet remained clipped beneath one arm.
Has Thomas been here? Ava immediately recognized her. She worked at the public library.
He just left. The young woman looked disappointed.
I was hoping to catch him. Lucien stepped closer.
Is something wrong? The young woman looked around. Nearly every table was occupied. She lowered her voice.
I saw the woman. The restaurant became noticeably quieter. Even customers who pretended not to listen slowed their conversations. Ava invited her toward the end of the counter.
Take your time, the young woman nodded.
I ride my bike to work every morning. I usually take the Eastern Service Road. Ava exchanged a glance with Ethan, the Eastern Road again.
What time?
A little after 9, Ethan quietly wrote the time.
What happened? The young woman spoke carefully.
I almost stopped. I thought she might need help. Lucien immediately became attentive.
Why?
She was kneeling, very close to the ground, moving leaves aside with a walking stick. Exactly like the hunter's description. Ava leaned slightly forward.
Did she notice you? The young woman shook her head.
I rang my bicycle bell twice. She never looked up. Lily frowned.
Not even once.
Not once. Ethan unfolded the town map.
Can you show us where? The young woman studied it, then placed one finger beside the old picnic road, not on the trail, just east of it, only a short distance from yesterday's reports. Ethan circled the location. Another point, inside the same oval.
How long did you watch? The young woman smiled awkwardly.
Long enough that I was almost late for work, Lucien asked quietly.
What was she searching for? The young woman slowly shook her head.
I don't know, but she hesitated. Everyone waited. It didn't feel random. Ava looked at her. What do you mean? The young woman searched for better words. She wasn't wandering. She wasn't looking everywhere. She kept returning to exactly the same few steps. Ethan looked toward the map again. That matched every useful report. A controlled search, not aimless. Not frightened, purposeful. Lily folded her arms.
So she definitely lost something. The young woman nodded.
That is what I thought.
After thanking her, Ava walked her to the door. Outside, the young woman unlocked her bicycle. Before leaving, she looked back.
I almost walked over. Ava waited, but I didn't want to scare her. Ava smiled gently.
You probably made the right decision. The young woman rode away. Ava remained outside for several seconds. The eastern hills shimmered beneath bright afternoon sunlight. Nothing looked mysterious from town, just trees, roads, old stone walls. Yet somewhere beyond them, an older woman continued searching the ground as though 30 years had passed in a single afternoon.
Back inside Harbor Light, Ethan placed a ruler across the map. He connected every confirmed sighting. The marks formed a rough circle, not large, barely half a mile across. Lucien looked down.
She hasn't expanded the search. Ethan nodded. Which means she believes the object is still there. Lily looked between them. So she remembers where she lost it. No one answered immediately. That possibility changed everything. Ava rested one finger near the center of the circle.
She isn't looking for a place. She is looking for something. The restaurant door opened again. This time it was Thomas. He stopped the moment he saw the map. Then he saw another fresh mark. His shoulders sank. He already knew what it meant.
Another report? Ava nodded. The young woman had barely been gone 5 minutes. Thomas walked slowly toward the counter. He studied the map without speaking. Another point. Samey area, samey behavior, samey description. For the first time since the rumors began, he could no longer dismiss the pattern. He looked toward Ava, then toward Lucien, then Ethan. Finally, Lily. Everyone had reached the same conclusion independently. Simone really was there. Thomas closed his eyes briefly. When he opened them again, he reached for his phone. I am calling the sheriff. Ava watched him dial. She hoped this search would finally answer everything. She also feared it would answer nothing at all, because if another search failed, someone else would have to go, and everyone in the room already knew who wanted that person to be.
Outside, unnoticed by anyone in town, a faint breeze crossed the eastern woods. Dry leaves shifted across the forest floor. A woman in a long red coat stopped beside an old oak tree. She looked down, then carefully knelt once more patiently, methodically, searching the same patch of earth she had searched hundreds of times before. The sheriff searched again that afternoon. 2 deputies walked the old picnic road. A third followed the creek. Thomas joined them near the stone wall and remained in the woods until sunset. They found footprints, too many to identify. They found broken branches. Too many had fallen during the storm. They found a shallow depression beneath an oak tree where someone might have knelt, or where rainwater might have softened the ground. They found no woman. When Thomas returned to Harbor Light, mud covered the lower half of his trousers. He stood just inside the door and looked at Ava. No one asked what had happened. His expression answered first.
Nothing. Lily stopped wiping the counter. Ethan folded the town map. Lucien remained beside the window. Ava looked toward Thomas's empty hands.
No bag? Thomas shook his head.
No walking stick.
No sign that she was there? Thomas removed his wet jacket.
We found several places where someone may have moved leaves. Ethan looked up.
In the marked area? Thomas hesitated?
Yes. Ava stepped closer.
Then she was there. Thomas placed the jacket over the back of a chair?
Someone was there.
That is what I said. Thomas's gaze hardened.
And now they are gone. Ava looked toward the darkening windows.
She always leaves before the search begins.
Or before anyone reaches her. Lucien turned from the window.
She may hear vehicles on the service road. Ethan nodded.
The deputies arrive in marked trucks? Lily folded the cloth.
And Thomas does not enter quietly. Thomas looked at her. You carry keys. They can be heard from another county. Thomas reached into his pocket and removed the large metal ring. It moved with a loud clatter. Lily pointed toward it. Exactly. Thomas placed the keys on the table.
This is not amusing. Lily's expression became serious.
I know.
Thomas looked around the room. 4 faces waited for him to admit what the failed searches had made obvious. The woman did not want to be found by a search team, or she did not realize anyone was looking for her. Either way, uniforms and vehicles were not bringing them closer. Ava opened the folder of witness reports.
Number she had not yet spoken. Ava looked at him.
You don't know what I was going to say.
Yes, I do. Ava closed the folder again.
Then you also know the sheriff's method is not working. Thomas drew a slow breath.
The method is safe.
For us, Thomas's eyes narrowed. What about her?
We do not know that she needs help.
We do not know that she doesn't? Thomas turned away. He walked toward the window and looked across the town square. Evening had begun. The streetlights flickered on one by one.
I will go back tomorrow morning. Ethan looked toward him.
With the deputies?
Yes. Lucien spoke calmly.
Then she will leave again. Thomas turned.
You cannot know that.
She has avoided 3 organized searches. Thomas folded his arms.
You are assuming she avoided them intentionally.
I am observing the result. Ava moved toward the map.
She stays near one area. She searches while the road is quiet. She disappears when vehicles and people arrive. She placed one finger on the old picnic road. If a small group entered on foot before sunrise, Thomas stepped forward.
Number Ava did not lower her hand.
Without uniforms.
Number.
And approached from the southern trail. Thomas struck one palm against the table.
I said no. The map shifted beneath his hand. The room became silent. Thomas looked at Ava. You are not going. Ava held his gaze.
You cannot search quietly. Thomas's expression changed. You know that. You are worried before you enter. You call her name. You check every trail. You bring deputies. If she is frightened, she will hear all of you coming. Thomas looked down at the map. He knew Ava was right. That made him angrier.
And you believe she will trust you?
I believe 4 people walking calmly through the woods may frighten her less than a search team. Thomas looked toward Lucien.
4. Lucien did not respond. Thomas's gaze moved to Ethan and Lily. You have already decided. Lily glanced toward Ava.
No one has decided anything. Thomas looked at her. Lily added carefully. Completely. Thomas closed his eyes.
This is exactly what I asked you not to do. Ava stepped around the table.
I waited. The sheriff searched again. You went with them, and she is still returning to the same place. Thomas's voice lowered.
You do not know. She will return tomorrow.
Number, but if she does, we may have one chance to speak to her before the entire town begins following her. That possibility changed Thomas's expression. The rumors had already spread beyond Harbor Light. Several teenagers had driven along the eastern road that afternoon. Walter had apparently planned to bring binoculars the following morning. The mystery was beginning to attract people who cared more about seeing the woman than helping her. Ethan spoke.
If too many people enter the woods, the ground will be useless? Thomas looked at him. Any object she lost may be stepped on, moved, or taken? Lily nodded.
And if she is frightened, she may stop coming. Ava watched Thomas.
We go early. We stay on the marked route. We do not separate. If we find her, we speak from a distance. If she asks us to leave, we leave. Thomas shook his head.
You make it sound controlled.
It can be. Thomas looked toward Lucien.
And if it is not? Lucien's answer came without hesitation.
Then I bring Ava back. Ava turned toward him. Thomas gave a short, bitter laugh.
You say that as though she is easy to bring anywhere. Lucien looked at Ava.
She is not. Lily tried not to smile. Thomas noticed.
This is not helping. Lily looked down.
Sorry.
Thomas paced once across the room, then back. The keys remained on the table. Without them, his movements were quieter. The silence made his fear more visible.
You will wait until daylight. Ava looked at him. It was not permission, not yet, but it was no longer refusal.
We planned to. Thomas pointed toward the map.
You will enter from the old picnic road. Ethan shook his head.
That is where the deputies entered. Thomas looked at him sharply. Ethan continued. If she watches the road, she will leave before we see her. Thomas stared at the map. Lucien placed one finger near the southern walking trail.
We enter here. We move north along the creek. The sound of the water will cover our approach. Thomas looked toward him.
You have considered this. Lucien did not deny it.
Yes. Thomas turned toward Ava. She had the decency to look slightly guilty.
When? Ava answered honestly.
After the second failed search, Thomas rubbed one hand across his face.
Of course. He studied the southern trail. The bridge may still be damaged. Ethan pointed to another route.
We can cross at the shallow section?
The rocks will be wet.
We will move slowly. Thomas looked toward Lily.
You are staying here. Lily's expression changed immediately.
Number, Thomas stared at her. She glanced toward Ava. Then Ethan. Then Lucien. Number, Thomas folded his arms.
You have never learned how to agree respectfully. Lily stood straighter.
I am working on it.
You are not going into the woods before sunrise.
Why not?
Because the trail is uneven.
So is the floor behind the counter.
Because it will be cold.
I own a coat.
Because someone must remain at Harbor Light. Lily looked around the empty restaurant.
Harbor Light is closed. Thomas opened his mouth. Lily continued before he could answer. And I have already seen the woman once. Everyone turned toward her. Ava stared.
What? Lily's confidence disappeared. She looked toward the door.
Not clearly. Thomas's voice became dangerously quiet.
When? Lily hesitated.
Yesterday. Ethan stepped closer.
Where? Lily looked at the map. She pointed near the northern edge of the marked oval.
I was delivering bread to Margaret. I took the short road. Ava watched her.
You didn't tell us. Lily folded her arms.
I wasn't certain. Thomas's eyes narrowed.
What did you see? Lily took a breath.
A red coat. Between the trees. She was bending down. I only saw her for a few seconds. Ethan's expression became serious.
Why didn't you stop? Lily looked at him.
I was on the other side of the creek. And I thought, she paused. I thought everyone had already made the story too large. Ava understood Lily did not want to become another voice adding to the rumor. She looked ordinary. She was not floating. She did not vanish. She did not enter a tree. Thomas gave her a look. Lily continued. She stood up, put something into her bag, then walked north. Lucien became attentive.
You saw her place something in the bag. Lily nodded.
I think so. Ava looked toward the map.
Then she may have found part of what she is looking for. Ethan shook his head slightly.
Or she collects objects to inspect later. Thomas looked at Lily.
Why did you take the short road after I told everyone to stay away from that area? Lily frowned.
You told Ava. Thomas stared. Lily corrected herself. You strongly implied it applied to everyone. Thomas picked up his keys. They clattered loudly in his hand.
You are not going tomorrow. Lily looked toward Ava. Ava knew Thomas's decision would not hold. She also knew arguing would only make him more determined.
She stays with Ethan. Ethan looked at her. Ava continued. They remain behind us. They do not separate. Thomas turned toward Ethan.
You will keep her on the trail. Ethan nodded.
Yes, Lily looked at him.
I can keep myself on a trail. Ethan lowered his voice.
This is not the moment. Lily pressed her lips together. Thomas walked toward the counter and pulled the map closer. For several minutes, he said nothing. Then he pointed toward the southern trail.
You begin here. Everyone gathered around. Thomas traced the route with one finger. The storm washed mud across this section. Stay above the creek until you reach the fallen cedar. Do not cross before that point. Ethan nodded. Thomas continued. The old stone wall begins here. Parts of it have collapsed. Do not step over the loose section. Lucien watched carefully. There is a narrow path behind the wall. It leads toward the picnic clearing. Ava looked at him.
You think she is using it?
I think it is quiet. He tapped the center of the marked oval, and it passed as every confirmed sighting. The room became still. Thomas had not merely surrendered. He was helping them plan. Lily smiled faintly. Thomas saw it. This is not approval. Lily nodded.
Of course not. Thomas looked at each of them in turn.
You leave at 6. You return by 9. If you do not find her, you return. If she runs, you do not chase. If anyone is injured, you call immediately. He looked directly at Ava. And if anything feels wrong.
We leave. Thomas held her gaze. I promise. He looked unconvinced, but he accepted the words. Lucien folded the map carefully.
I will carry it. Thomas shook his head.
You will carry the first aid kit. Lucien accepted the correction. Ethan picked up the folder.
I'll bring the witness notes. Thomas looked at him.
You do not need the story about the tree. Ethan removed the first napkin from the folder and placed it on the counter. Lily picked it up.
For historical preservation. Thomas sighed.
They left Harbor Light shortly after 10. Thomas walked Ava home. Neither spoke for most of the distance. At her gate, he stopped.
You do not have to go. Ava looked toward him.
I know.
The sheriff can continue.
He can. Thomas waited. Ava added. But tomorrow we may speak to her. Thomas looked down at the road.
You always make it sound simple.
It may be simple. Thomas gave her a tired look. A woman lost something. She keeps returning to search. We help her look. Thomas's expression softened, but only slightly.
In Moonlight Falls, simple things have a poor history of remaining simple. Ava smiled faintly.
That is not a reason to abandon them. Thomas looked toward the eastern hills. They were dark beneath the night sky.
Number. It is a reason to be careful. He reached into his coat pocket and removed a small silver whistle. He placed it in Ava's hand.
What is this?
Emily carried it when she walked the forest. Ava looked at the whistle. The metal was worn smooth. A small scratch crossed one side.
You kept it. Thomas nodded.
She stopped using it near the end. His voice became quieter. She said everyone knew where she was. Ava closed her fingers around the whistle. They did not. Ava looked at him. Keep it where you can reach it. Ava slipped the whistle into her coat pocket.
I will. Thomas stepped back. For a moment it seemed he might say more. Instead, he nodded and walked away. Ava watched him until he reached the corner. Then she entered the house.
At 5:30 the next morning, Moonlight Falls was still dark. Ava dressed quietly. Warm sweater, heavy coat, waterproof boots. She placed a flashlight in one pocket and Thomas's whistle in the other. When she stepped outside, Lucien was already waiting at the gate. He carried a canvas pack over one shoulder. The first, a Yate kit was attached to the side. A thermos rested in his hand.
You brought coffee. Lucien lifted the thermos.
Lily insisted. Ava closed the gate behind her.
Of course she did. For a moment, neither moved. The conversation after closing remained between them. Lucien looked rested. Ava knew he was not. About last night? Lucien shook his head gently.
We do not have to finish that conversation before sunrise. Ava looked at him.
I don't want you to think I forgot it.
I do not.
I heard you. Lucien's expression softened.
That is enough for now. They began walking. Their footsteps sounded loud on the empty road at the next corner. Ethan's truck waited beneath a streetlight. Lily sat in the passenger seat holding 4 paper cups. She lowered the window.
You were late. Ava checked the clock above the pharmacy.
It is 5:47. Lily handed her a cup.
Emotionally late. Ethan leaned across the steering wheel.
She has been awake since 4. Lily looked at him.
I was preparing.
You changed coats 3 times?
The first one was too bright. Lucien looked at her dark green coat.
You were concerned about being seen, Lily shook her head.
I did not want the red woman to think I was copying her. Ava climbed into the back seat. Lucien joined her. Ethan started the truck. The engine sounded too loud in the sleeping town. They drove west first, away from the eastern road. Then Ethan turned south and followed the river. The indirect route had been Thomas's suggestion. And Yon watching the old picnic road would not see them arrive.
The sky gradually lightened. Black became deep blue. The outlines of rooftops appeared. Fog lay low over the fields beyond town. No one spoke for several minutes. Lily held the folded map in both hands. Ethan drove slowly where stormwater had damaged the road. Ava watched Lucien's reflection in the side window. He noticed he did not turn toward her, but his hand shifted slightly on the seat between them, not reaching. Only resting closer, Ava looked down at the small distance between their fingers, then toward the road ahead. The truck turned onto an unmarked gravel lane. Trees closed around them. Ethan parked beside an abandoned maintenance shed half a mile from the southern trail. He shut off the engine. Silence arrived immediately. Not complete silence. Birds called from the trees. Water moved somewhere beyond the slope. Wind touched the upper branches, but the human world disappeared. Lily opened her door. Cold air entered the truck.
Stay close? Lily looked at him.
I know. Ethan held her gaze. I will. They stepped outside. Lucien distributed supplies, water, flashlights, a small roll of bandages, a compass Ethan said they would not need but carried anyway. Ava checked the whistle in her pocket. It remained there. Lucien unfolded the map across the hood of the truck.
We follow the access trail for 300 yards, then turn north before the creek crossing. Ethan pointed toward the trees.
The path begins behind the shed. Lily looked into the forest.
It looks less like a path and more like an argument between bushes. Ava smiled.
Thomas said it would be narrow? Lily adjusted her bag.
Thomas was being generous.
They left the truck at 6:10. Lucien walked first. Ava followed. Ethan and Lily remained several steps behind. The access trail had once been wide enough for maintenance vehicles. Now grass grew through its center. Branches leaned across from both sides. Stormwater had carved small channels into the earth. They moved carefully. The forest smelled of wet bark, cold soil, and pine. Sunlight had not yet reached beneath the trees. Their breath appeared faintly in the air. For the first 10 minutes, no one spoke. Every sound seemed important. A branch moving, a bird leaving the brush. Water striking stone. Ava listened for footsteps beyond their own. Nothing. Lucien stopped near a fork in the trail. He crouched and touched the mud. Ava moved beside him.
What is it? Lucien pointed. A partial footprint crossed the edge of the path, narrow heel, smooth sole, not a hiking boot. Ethan crouched on the other side.
Recent. Lily leaned closer.
How recent? Ethan touched the edge of the print.
The mud has not dried. Lucien looked toward the pale sky through the branches.
It could be from yesterday. Ava followed the direction of the footprint. It led north, toward the marked area.
She came this way. Ethan stood.
Possibly. Lily looked at him.
You sound like the official reports.
That is intentional? Lucien folded the map.
We continue.
The trail narrowed. Ferns brushed their boots. At the creek, Ethan crossed first. He stepped from one flat rock to another, then turned and offered Lily his hand. She looked at it.
I can cross.
I know. He kept his hand extended. Lily took it. She crossed without slipping. When she reached the other side, Ethan released her too quickly. Lily noticed. She said nothing. Lucien crossed next, then Ava. The final rock shifted beneath her boot. Her foot slipped toward the water. Lucien caught her wrist. His other hand settled against her waist. For 1 second, Ava remained suspended between the rock and the creek. Then Lucien pulled her safely onto the bank.
I had it? Lucien looked at the unstable stone.
You did not. Ava glanced down at his hand still resting at her waist. Lucien noticed and released her. The movement felt more careful than necessary. Ava looked toward the trail.
Thank you. Lucien nodded.
You are welcome. Lily watched from several feet away. Ava gave her a warning look. Lily turned immediately toward the trees.
I saw nothing. Ethan looked confused.
What did you not see? Lily began walking.
Exactly.
Beyond the creek, the forest changed. The ground rose slightly. Older trees stood farther apart. Storm debris covered the earth in long strips, broken branches, wet leaves, pieces of bark. Searching there would be difficult. Ava understood why the woman had returned repeatedly. Even a small object could disappear beneath a single layer of leaves. Lucien stopped near a fallen cedar.
This is Thomas's marker. Ethan looked toward the slope.
The stone wall should be north of us. They turned from the creek and climbed. The wall appeared 10 minutes later. Gray stones ran between the trees, half covered by moss. Several sections had collapsed. The remaining wall stood no higher than Ava's waist. Lily touched one of the stones.
How old is it? Ava looked along the line.
Older than Harbor Light. Ethan stepped over a fallen section.
It may have marked farmland. Lucien looked toward the narrow path behind it.
This is the route. They moved north. The path curved gently through the trees. It was almost invisible beneath the leaves, but someone had used it recently. Small branches had been pushed aside. Mud had been disturbed. Near one oak, Ava saw a clear mark where the tip of a walking stick had entered the ground. She pointed.
There? Ethan examined it.
Fresh. Lily looked ahead.
She may be close. The four of them became silent. They continued more slowly. Lucien raised one hand whenever the path curved. Ava listened. At first, she heard only the creek behind them. Then another sound. Soft, repeated. A scrape pause, like wood moving through leaves. Ava touched Lucien's arm. He stopped. Ethan and Lily stopped behind them. The sound came again. Closer now. Scrape pause. Scrape. Lucien leaned toward Ava.
East. She nodded. The path curved west. The sound came from beyond the wall. They would need to leave the trail. Thomas's instruction returned. Stay together, do not chase. Ava looked toward Ethan. He had heard it too. Lucien pointed to a collapsed section of wall. They crossed one at a time. On the other side, the ground sloped into a shallow hollow. Fog remained between the trees. The sounds stopped. Everyone froze. Ava could hear Lily breathing behind her. A bird called overhead. Then silence again. Lucien moved forward 2 steps. Ava followed. The fog shifted. Something red appeared between 2 trees. Only a narrow section, fabric motionless. Lily touched Ethan's sleeve. No one spoke. Ava stared. The red shape moved, a shoulder, then the lower edge of a long coat. The woman stood less than 60 yards away with her back turned. White hair rested against the collar. A canvas bag hung at her side. A walking stick remained in one hand. Every useful report had been correct. She was real. She bent slowly and moved leaves aside with the stick, then knelt. Ava felt Lucien's hand close gently around her wrist, not restraining her, reminding her he was there. She looked at him. Lucien shook his head once. Not yet. Ava nodded. They watched. The woman brushed aside leaves with one gloved hand. She examined the ground, then stood and moved 3 steps to the left. The method was precise. A narrow line back and forth. She was searching the hollow in sections. Ethan leaned close enough to whisper.
She knows the area, Ava nodded. Lily whispered.
Should we speak? Lucien watched the woman.
Not while she is kneeling. They waited until she stood again. Ava stepped slightly forward. Lucien released her wrist. She kept her voice calm.
Excuse me. The woman did not turn. Ava tried again. Excuse me? The woman suddenly straightened. Her head turned slightly, she had heard. For 1 second, no one moved. Then the woman gripped the walking stick and walked quickly toward the trees. Wait, the woman did not stop. Lucien moved beside Ava.
We only want to speak with you. The woman looked back. Her face was visible for the first time, older, tired. Ordinary. Fear crossed it when she saw 4 people standing behind her. She turned and moved faster. Ava took 1 step forward. Thomas's warning returned. If she runs, do not chase. Ava stopped.
We won't follow you. The woman continued through the trees. Her red coat flashed once between the trunks, then disappeared. Lily stepped forward.
She's leaving. Ethan watched the direction.
Let her. Lily looked at him. If we follow now, she will avoid the area completely. Lucien remained beside Ava. His gaze stayed on the trees. The woman did not reappear. Ava felt frustration rise. They had found her. They had been close enough to speak, and now she was gone. Lily looked toward the hollow.
What do we do? Ava studied the ground where the woman had been searching. The leaves had been moved into small piles. Several narrow sections of earth were exposed. A piece of cloth lay near one tree. Ava walked toward it. Lucien followed. The cloth was not red. It was faded blue ribbon, wet from the storm. Ava crouched, but did not touch it. Ethan looked over her shoulder.
She may be collecting things connected to the place. Lily looked around.
Or checking everything that looks like what she lost. Lucien walked slowly through the hollow. He did not disturb the leaves. Near the center, he stopped.
Ava, she joined him. He pointed toward a large oak. Several old cuts marked the bark. Not words, simple lines, a heart. 2 initials, the carving had softened with age. Ava brushed moss aside carefully. The letters became clearer. E and M. Lily leaned closer.
Emily. Ava looked at her. I know, too soon. Ethan examined the carving.
These are old. Lucien looked around the hollow.
This may have been part of the picnic area. Ava remembered the old road. Families had once used the eastern woods for summer gatherings. Before the bridge changed, before the trails shifted, before storms and years buried the clearing.
She may be searching near a place she remembers, Ethan nodded.
The trees changed, the path moved, but the oak remained. Lily looked toward the direction the woman had gone.
She'll come back. Ava stood.
Not while we are here. Lucien looked at her.
Then we leave something. Ava frowned.
What? Lucien opened the canvas pack. He removed a small notebook and pencil from the side pocket. He tore out a page, then looked toward Ava.
A message. Ava considered the idea. Too much could frighten the woman. Too little would mean nothing. She took the pencil. On the paper she wrote, "We are sorry we frightened you. We believe you are searching for something. We would like to help. We will return tomorrow morning and wait near the stone wall. You do not have to speak to us." Ava stopped, then added, "We will not follow you." She placed the pencil down. Lily read the message.
You should sign it. Ava wrote her name, then Lucien's, then Ethan's and Lily's. Ethan removed a small clear bag from the first aid kit. I placed the note inside to protect it from moisture. Lucien tied it loosely to a low branch beside the exposed search area. Not hidden, not impossible to avoid. Ava looked toward the trees where the woman had disappeared.
She may not return, Ethan nodded.
She may not. Lily looked at the carefully searched ground.
But she has returned every other day. Lucien folded the map.
We promised not to follow. Ava knew he was right. Still, leaving felt like failure. They had found the woman. They had proved the town's rumors wrong. She was not Emily. Not a warning. only an older woman afraid of strangers. But they still did not know her name, they did not know what she had lost. They did not know why she kept returning. Ava looked at the note one last time, then turned toward the stone wall.
They began the walk back at 7:30. No one spoke until they reached the creek. The sun had risen above the trees. Fog lifted from the water. Lily stepped onto the first rock. Ethan offered his hand again. This time, she took it without comment. On the opposite bank, she looked back toward the forest.
Do you think she read the note? Ethan checked the time.
Not yet, Lily nodded.
I know. I mean, do you think she will? Ava looked toward Lucien. He carried the first aid kit over one shoulder. His expression remained thoughtful.
She returned to that hollow because she is unwilling to stop searching. Ava waited. People who are unwilling to stop searching usually notice anything new. Ava looked away. The words applied to more than the woman. Lucien knew it. So did she. They continued toward the maintenance shed. When the truck came into view, Thomas stood beside it. Ava stopped. He wore his coat over an untucked shirt. His hair had not been properly combed. He had clearly left home quickly. Thomas looked at each of them. No injuries. No torn clothing. No missing people. Only then did his shoulders lower.
You said 9? Ethan checked his watch.
It is 8:12. Thomas looked at him.
That is not the point. Lily walked toward the truck.
We found her. Thomas became completely still. He looked at Ava.
You spoke to her. Ava shook her head.
She ran when she saw us. Thomas glanced toward the forest.
Did you follow?
Number Thomas looked relieved, then suspicious.
What did you do? Lucien answered.
We left a note. Thomas stared.
You were going back. It was not a question. Ava walked closer.
Tomorrow, Thomas's expression hardened again. She is not dangerous?
You know that after watching her for how long?
Long enough to see she is searching. Thomas looked toward Ethan. Ethan nodded.
She moved through one section carefully, back and forth like a grid, Lily added.
She had the canvas bag in the walking stick. Thomas looked toward her. She did not enter a tree. Thomas ignored that.
She was frightened when she saw us. Thomas's anger weakened. We told her we would return. We told her we would wait near the wall. Thomas looked toward the trees again.
And if she does not come? Ava answered quietly.
Then we leave. Thomas studied her face. He wanted to believe the promise. He also knew Ava's relationship with unanswered questions. Finally, he opened the truck door.
We discussed this at Harbor Light. Lily climbed into the passenger seat.
We came in my truck. Thomas looked at Ethan's vehicle, then at his own. He had parked directly behind it. For several seconds, no one spoke. Lily looked through the windshield.
You blocked us in. Thomas reached for his keys. They clattered in his hand.
I was concerned. Lily nodded.
We could hear that from the woods. Thomas gave her a tired look.
As Thomas moved his truck, Ava stood beside Lucien. The morning sunlight reached through the trees behind them.
You were right. Lucien looked toward her. About waiting.
She was afraid.
I wanted to follow.
I know. Ava glanced toward him.
You knew I would stop. Lucien considered that?
I hoped. Ava smiled faintly.
That is not the same thing.
Number, it is trust before proof. The word stayed with Ava. Thomas had trusted Emily and lost her. Now he feared trust itself. Lucien feared being left behind. Yet he continued offering trust before Ava had fully earned it. She looked toward the truck. Ethan was trying to convince Lily to move from the driver's seat. Thomas stood beside his vehicle, waiting impatiently. Ordinary irritation had already begun replacing fear. Ava looked back toward the eastern woods. Somewhere inside, the woman in the red coat might already be returning to the hollow. She might find the note. She might tear it down. She might ignore it. Or she might finally allow someone else into the search she had carried alone. Ava touched the silver whistle in her pocket, then climbed into the truck beside Lucien. Behind them, the forest became quiet again.
The note was gone. Ava saw that first. The clear plastic bag no longer hung from the low branch beside the oak tree. The cord Lucien had used remained loosely tied around the bark. moving in the morning breeze. The paper had been removed carefully. Not torn, not dropped. Taken. Lily stepped closer to the branch.
She read it. Ethan crouched beside the exposed earth.
Or someone removed it. Lily looked at him.
You work very hard to make good news less enjoyable. Ethan pointed toward the ground.
There are fresh prints. Lucien moved beside him. A narrow shoe print crossed the damp leaves. Then another? The marks came from the eastern trees, approached the note, and turned toward the old stone wall. Ava followed the direction. The woman was there. She stood beside the collapsed section of wall, less than 30 yards away. The red coat was buttoned to her throat. Her white hair had been gathered into a loose knot. The canvas bag rested against one hip, and both hands held the top of her walking stick. She had been waiting. No one moved. The woman watched them with caution, but she did not run. Ava slowly lifted both hands away from her coat pockets.
Good morning. The woman did not answer. Ava stopped several feet from the oak. She remembered the promise in the note. They would wait near the wall. They would not follow. Ava looked toward Lucien. He understood. The four of them remained where they were. For several long seconds, the only sound came from water moving through the creek below. Then the woman spoke.
You came back! Her voice was soft and slightly rough with age. Ava nodded.
We said we would. The woman looked at each of them. Her gaze rested briefly on Lucien, then Ethan, then Lily. Finally, it returned to Ava.
People say many things. Ava glanced toward the missing note.
You found our message. The woman's fingers tightened around the walking stick.
Yes, Lily smiled carefully.
We meant what we wrote. The woman looked toward her.
You are the girl from the road. Lily's eyes widened.
You saw me. The woman nodded.
You were carrying bread. Lily looked toward the others.
I thought she didn't notice. Ethan spoke quietly.
She notices everything around the search area. The woman's expression changed at the word search, not fear. Weariness? Ava took one small step forward.
We don't want to frighten you.
You already did, Ava nodded.
I'm sorry. The woman looked toward Lucien.
He told you not to follow. Ava glanced at him. Lucien remained still.
We promised not to.
And you kept the promise. Lucien nodded.
Yes.
The woman studied them again. Her caution remained, but something had softened. She moved one hand from the walking stick and reached into her coat pocket. For a moment, Ethan's posture changed. Then the woman removed the folded note. She had kept it. The paper was creased neatly into quarters.
You wrote that you wanted to help. Ava nodded.
We do. The woman looked toward the searched ground beneath the oak.
You don't know what I'm looking for.
Number?
You don't know me.
Number. The woman waited. Ava understood she was being tested, not for information, for motive. But you've been coming here for days. You search the same ground. You leave before the town search teams arrive. And yesterday, when we saw you, you looked frightened. The woman lowered her gaze. Ava continued gently. We thought you might be carrying this alone because you believed you had to. The woman's eyes returned to her. For the first time, they held surprise. Lucien looked toward Ava. The words belonged to the woman, but they also belonged to Ava. The woman unfolded the note once, then folded it again.
My name is Miriam. Ava smiled.
I'm Ava, she gestured carefully. This is Lucien, Ethan, and Lily. Miriam nodded to each of them. Lily lifted one hand in a small wave.
Hello? Miriam almost smiled. The expression disappeared quickly, but Ava saw it.
May we come closer? Miriam looked toward the distance between them, then nodded.
Slowly. They approached the stone wall. Lucien stayed beside Ava. Ethan and Lily remained a few steps behind. When they reached the wall, Miriam moved to the opposite side, keeping the stones between them. Not a barrier exactly. A boundary. Ava respected it.
Do you live in Moonlight Falls? Miriam shook her head.
Not anymore. I live in Westbridge. Ethan looked toward the road beyond the forest.
That is almost an hour away, Miriam nodded.
Longer, when the roads are wet. Lily looked at the canvas bag.
You've been driving here every morning. Miriam looked toward the trees.
Most mornings. Ava watched her face.
How long have you been searching? Miriam did not answer immediately. She looked toward the oak tree and the narrow exposed lines in the earth.
Since the storm. Ava frowned slightly.
You lost something during the storm? Miriam shook her head.
Number. I lost it 41 years ago. Silence followed. Lily's expression changed. Ethan glanced toward the old picnic road. Lucien looked at the searched hollow with new understanding. Miriam's hands rested on the walking stick. The storm brought down 3 trees. It opened the old clearing again. She pointed toward the fallen cedar beyond the wall. That tree was not there when I was young. Neither were most of the smaller ones. Ava looked around.
You remembered the place. Miriam nodded.
I thought I did. A tired smile touched her face. Memory is less exact than people believe. She looked toward the oak. The clearing was larger. The creek sounded closer. There was a table near the wall. Or perhaps there were 2. Lucien studied the slope.
The creek may have changed course slightly. Miriam looked at him.
You know forests? Lucien glanced toward the old trees.
I know how slowly they change, and how completely. Miriam nodded as though the answer satisfied her. Ava rested one hand lightly on the stone wall.
What did you lose? Miriam lowered her gaze. Her thumb moved across the top of the walking stick.
A necklace! Lily leaned forward slightly.
What kind? Miriam looked toward her.
A silver chain with a small oval pendant. Ava waited. Miriam continued. It belonged to my husband. The past tense was unmistakable. Ava's voice softened.
What was his name? Miriam looked toward the clearing.
Daniel.
The name changed her. Not dramatically. Her shoulders did not shake. Her voice did not break. But the guarded woman in the red coat disappeared for a moment, replaced by someone much younger standing in a summer clearing. Miriam reached into the canvas bag. This time, Ethan did not tense. She removed a faded photograph. The corners had softened from years of handling. She placed it carefully on the stone wall. A young man and woman sat on a picnic blanket beneath an oak tree. The woman wore a pale dress. The man had one arm around her shoulders. His smile was wide and careless. The photograph had faded toward yellow, but the oak behind them was unmistakable. Ava looked from the picture to the tree in the hollow. Semi-split in the trunk. Semi-low branch extending east. The tree had grown wider, but it was the same. Lily touched the edge of the photograph without lifting it.
That's you. Miriam nodded.
And Daniel. Ava studied the picture.
Was this taken the day you lost the necklace? Miriam shook her head.
A week before. We came here often that summer. Daniel had found the necklace in a small antique shop in Westbridge. It was inexpensive. He apologized for that when he gave it to me. Miriam smiled faintly, as though I cared. She looked at the clearing. The pendant opened. There was a photograph inside. Lily's face brightened.
Of the 2 of you? Miriam shook her head.
Only Daniel. He said there was not enough room for both of us. He promised to find a larger one later. Her smile faded. He never did. Ava watched her carefully.
What happened the day you lost it? Miriam took a slow breath.
There was a picnic. Several families from town. Music. Children near the creek. Too much food. Her gaze moved over the buried clearing. Daniel and I argued. Lily remained silent. Miriam seemed grateful for that. He had been offered work in another state. He wanted to leave. I did not. Miriam looked down at the photograph. I told him he cared more about leaving than about me. He told me I was afraid of everything beyond Moonlight Falls. Ava understood the shape of the argument. 2 people saying something larger through the wrong words. I removed the necklace. Miriam closed one hand around the top of the walking stick. I told him I did not want anything from him. And I threw it. Lily's eyes widened.
Into the woods. Miriam nodded.
I thought it landed near the wall. I heard it strike something. Stone, perhaps. She looked along the collapsed section. Then I walked away. Ethan glanced toward the searched ground.
You returned later.
The same evening, Miriam's voice became quieter. Daniel had already gone. I searched until dark, then again the next morning, and the next. Ava looked toward the oak.
You never found it? Miriam shook her head.
Number, Lucien spoke gently.
Did Daniel know you came back? Miriam looked at him.
Number, he left for the job 3 days later. Lily's expression fell.
You didn't speak before he left. Miriam looked toward the old photograph.
We were young. The answer held no defense, only regret. I believed he should come to me. He believed I should come to him. Neither of us moved. Ava looked at Lucien. He was already looking at her. The conversation after closing returned without words. The distance between two people could be only a few feet and still become permanent. Miriam continued. He wrote twice. I answered once. Then the months became years. Lily's voice was careful.
Did you see him again? Miriam nodded.
Many years later, Ava waited. Miriam folded the photograph inside one hand. He came back to Moonlight Falls for a funeral. We spoke in front of the church? 10 minutes, perhaps less. Her eyes remained on the trees. He had married, so had I. Lily lowered her gaze. Miriam continued. We were both happy enough. That is what people say when they do not want to be ungrateful for the lives they chose. No one interrupted. He asked whether I had kept the necklace. I told him yes. Ava's expression changed. Miriam looked down. It was easier than telling him I had thrown it away. Lucien's voice was quiet.
Did he believe you?
I think he wanted to. Miriam placed the photograph back into her bag. Daniel died last winter. The words rested softly in the morning air. Lily's eyes filled with immediate sympathy.
I'm sorry. Miriam nodded.
His daughter wrote to me. Ava looked surprised.
She knew about you? Miriam gave a small, sad smile.
Apparently, Daniel told stories. Not many, but enough. She reached into the bag again and removed an envelope. The paper was clean and new. His daughter found my name in an old address book. She sent this. Ava did not ask to read it. Miriam unfolded the letter herself. She said Daniel kept a photograph of this picnic in his desk. The same one I have. He had written something on the back. Miriam turned the old photograph over. Faded handwriting covered the lower edge. She read aloud. Summer at Moonlight Falls. Miriam wore my necklace. I hope she kept it. Miriam folded the photograph again. I had not thought about the necklace for years. That is what I told myself. Then I read those words. Ava looked toward the clearing.
And the storm opened the old area. Miriam nodded.
I saw the fallen trees in a photograph online. I recognized the oak, so I came back. Ethan looked across the grid of disturbed leaves.
You believe the necklace is still here. Miriam's expression became firm.
I know it may not be. Somebody may have found it. The chain may have broken. The earth may have buried it too deeply. She looked down at the walking stick. But I needed to search once more. Lily glanced over the cleared sections.
You've searched more than once. Miriam almost smiled.
Yes. Ava looked toward the woman's boots. Mud had dried in layers around the soles. The hem of the red coat was stained. Her hands were protected by gloves, but the fingertips were worn. She had not come for one final visit. She had come prepared to keep returning until the clearing gave her an answer.
Why did you leave whenever the sheriff came? Miriam's expression changed.
I did not want questions. Ava looked toward the photograph hidden in the bag.
About Daniel? Miriam nodded.
About why an old woman would spend her mornings digging through leaves for a necklace she threw away before most of the deputies were born. Lily spoke immediately.
That does not sound strange. Ethan looked at her. Lily corrected herself. It sounds a little strange, but not wrong. Miriam smiled. This time, the smile remained.
The first day, I heard a vehicle, then someone calling. I thought the landowner had seen me, so I left. The next day, there were more people. By then, I had heard the rumors in town. Ava winced.
About Emily? Miriam looked at her closely.
You are her daughter. It was not a question. Ava felt everyone's attention shift.
Yes? Miriam studied her face.
I thought so. Ava looked toward the red coat.
Did you know her? Miriam's answer came slowly.
Everyone knew Emily. The words carried no mystery, only familiarity. Ava waited for more. Miriam looked toward the clearing. She took photographs at the summer picnics. She was younger than I was, always asking people to stand closer together. Ava smiled faintly. That sounded like Emily. She may have taken this one. Miriam touched the photograph inside her bag. Ava's heart tightened. Another connection. But not the one the town had invented. No ghost, no secret warning. Only a summer photograph taken by a young woman who later became Ava's mother.
Did Emily know about the necklace? Miriam thought.
I don't know. She saw Daniel give it to me the week before. She teased him because the chain was too long. Ava looked toward the old oak. But she was not here when we argued. At least I never saw her. Lucien watched Ava carefully. She felt the familiar pull, a possible connection. A new question, but Miriam had not come here for Emily. This story belonged to her. Ava reminded herself of that.
We can help you search. Miriam became still.
You do not have to. Lily stepped toward the wall.
There are 4 of us. Ethan looked at the disturbed ground.
And the search area can be divided. Lucien studied the old photograph again.
If we identify where the picnic blanket was, we may be able to reconstruct the direction of the throw. Miriam looked at him with surprise.
After 41 years, Lucien looked around the clearing.
The tree remained, part of the wall remained, the slope remained. And you remember more than you think. Miriam's expression became uncertain. Hope frightened her more than disappointment. Ava recognized that too.
We may not find it? Miriam looked at her. But you don't have to search alone today. The woman's gaze moved across all 4 faces. Lily was already removing a pair of gloves from her bag. Ethan had unfolded the town map against the wall. Lucien examined the angle between the oak and the remaining stones. No one treated the necklace as foolish. No one laughed. No one asked why she had waited so long. Miriam looked down at the note in her hand, then folded it and placed it carefully into her coat pocket.
All right, Lily smiled.
Where do we begin?
Miriam moved around the wall. For the first time, she stood on the same side as the others. She walked toward the oak and stopped near the split trunk.
The blanket was here! Lucien looked at the ground.
Are you certain? Miriam nodded.
Daniel leaned against the tree. I sat beside him. Ava looked at the old photograph. The trunk behind Daniel rose at a slight angle. Lucien turned slowly, comparing the photograph with the living tree.
The camera was west of you. Miriam looked surprised.
Yes, near the picnic table. Lucien pointed toward a low rise beyond the wall.
The table may have stood there. Ethan studied the slope.
The ground is flatter. Lily walked toward it.
And there are old stones, half hidden beneath leaves. 2 rectangular stones rested parallel to each other. Possible supports. The wooden table had long since disappeared, but its place remained. Miriam stared at the stones.
I forgot those. Ava smiled gently.
You remembered once you saw them. Lucien stood near the oak.
Where were you during the argument? Miriam moved slowly. She placed herself beside the tree.
Here? Daniel stood near the blanket. She pointed 2 steps south. I walked toward the wall. Ava followed the imagined route. He said something. I turned. She stopped approximately 10 feet from the oak. I took off the necklace. Lily stood very still, watching. Miriam lifted one hand as though holding the chain again. And I threw it over there. She pointed toward the eastern end of the wall. Ethan looked toward the area she had spent days searching. It lay mostly south of her indicated direction.
You have been searching too far downhill? Miriam frowned.
I heard it strike stone. Lucien crossed toward the wall. He examined the surviving height.
You may have heard the pendant hit the top. Ava followed him.
Then it could have continued over, Lucien nodded.
Into the ground on the other side. Miriam stared beyond the wall. That area was dense with ferns and storm debris. She had barely searched it.
I thought it fell before the wall. Lucien looked toward her position near the oak.
You were angry. You probably threw farther than you remember. Lily looked at him.
Is that based on science? Lucien glanced toward Ava.
Experience, Ava lifted an eyebrow.
When have you thrown jewelry? Lucien's expression remained composed.
I have observed anger. Lily smiled.
Careful answer.
The small humor loosened something in Miriam. She laughed once. The sound surprised her. For a moment, she stood beneath the oak with one hand near her mouth, looking almost embarrassed. Then Ava saw the younger woman again. Not because Miriam appeared less old. Because grief had stopped covering every part of her. Lucien divided the area beyond the wall into narrow sections. Ethan used fallen branches to mark boundaries. Lily tied strips of plain cloth to the lowest branches so they could identify completed areas. Ava remained beside Miriam.
Are you ready? Miriam looked across the new search grid, then at the 4 people waiting to begin.
Yes! They crossed the wall. The search began again. But this time Miriam did not search alone.
The first section produced nothing. Ethan cleared the leaves carefully with a fallen branch. Lucien checked the exposed ground. Ava searched between the stones. Lily inspected every root and hollow. Miriam stood near the wall, watching 4 strangers search for a necklace she had thrown away 41 years earlier. At first, she tried to help everywhere. She crossed from one section to another. She lifted branches before Ethan had finished checking beneath them. She returned repeatedly to the same patch of soil. Finally, Lucien stood and looked at her.
Miriam, she stopped.
Yes?
You are searching the way you remember searching. Miriam frowned.
I don't understand. Lucien pointed toward the ground behind her.
You return to the places that feel familiar. The places you believed the necklace landed. Miriam looked toward the hollow south of the wall. For days she had searched there. Back and forth. The same earth. The same leaves. If your memory of the direction was wrong, familiarity will keep leading you away from it. Miriam tightened her grip on the walking stick.
So I should do nothing. Lucien shook his head.
You should help us remember the day. Ava looked toward him. He was not removing Miriam from the search. He was giving her a different part of it. Lucien gestured toward the oak. Tell us where everyone stood, where the tables were, where the children played. What the ground looked like. Anything you remember? Miriam looked uncertain.
Most of it is gone.
The details may still matter. Lily sat back on her heels.
And talking is easier than moving wet leaves. Miriam looked toward her mud-covered gloves. Not that I object to moving wet leaves. I am developing a close relationship with them. Ethan glanced at the large pile beside her.
You are supposed to place them outside the marked section? Lily looked down. Her pile had slowly spread back across the area they had already searched.
They keep returning. Ethan used his branch to push them away again.
Leaves do that? Lily looked toward Miriam.
You see what I'm dealing with. Miriam smiled faintly. Then she walked toward the oak.
The morning sun rose higher. Light moved between the branches in narrow gold lines. The forest no longer seemed secretive, only old. The wall had once divided open farmland from the picnic clearing. Now moss covered the stones. Roots pushed between them. Ferns grew where families had spread blankets and children had run toward the creek. Miriam stood beneath the oak and closed her eyes.
There were 3 tables. Lucien looked toward the 2 rectangular stones Lily had found.
One there. Miriam nodded.
Yes, the largest one. Food was placed on it. She pointed farther north. Another near the creek path. Children sat there. Ethan looked through the trees.
The ground falls away in that direction? Miriam opened her eyes.
It did then too. Parents complained because cups kept tipping. Lily stood.
That sounds like evidence. Ethan looked at her. Of a table. Ethan nodded once.
It does? Miriam walked toward the wall.
The 3rd table was smaller, near the eastern end. Ava followed.
Closer to where you threw the necklace, Miriam stopped. Her expression changed.
Yes, she looked along the wall. Daniel stood beside it when the argument began. Lucien moved toward the eastern section.
Why? Miriam thought.
He was putting empty bottles into a crate. The picnic was ending. Ava looked toward the old photograph in Miriam's bag.
Then you weren't beside the oak when you removed the necklace. Miriam frowned.
I was near it. Lucien shook his head gently.
You began near it. He pointed toward the imagined table. Daniel was here, you approached him. You argued. Then you moved toward the wall. Miriam looked between the oak and the eastern stones. The distance was greater than the one she had described earlier. Almost 20 feet.
I remember turning away from him. Lucien waited. He followed me. Ava became attentive.
How far? Miriam stepped slowly along the old ground. She was no longer describing the memory. She was entering it.
He said I was being unreasonable. Lily looked toward Ethan. He wisely kept his eyes on the ground. Miriam continued. I told him he had already decided. He said he was asking me to come. I said asking after accepting the job was not asking. She stopped near a broken section of wall. He stood there. Lucien moved to the place she indicated.
And you? Miriam turned. She faced him from several feet away.
Here. Ava looked down. Miriam stood beside a shallow rise covered in ferns. Not near the oak. Not near the area she had searched for days. Lucien looked at Miriam.
You took off the necklace here. Miriam lifted one hand toward her throat. Her fingers trembled slightly.
Yes, I said. She stopped. Ava waited. I said if he wanted a new life, he should take everything he had given me with him. Lily's expression softened. Miriam looked toward Lucien, but she no longer saw him. She saw Daniel, 41 years younger, standing beside the wall, angry, proud, waiting for her to say something that would allow him to stay. He told me not to be foolish. A sad smile touched her face. That made me much more foolish. Lucien remained where Daniel had stood.
How did you throw it? Miriam looked at her right hand. She slowly repeated the motion. Not a wide throw over her shoulder. A quick movement across her body. Her arms swung from left to right. The imaginary chain left her hand toward the north. Everyone followed the direction, not east, not south, north. Toward the remains of the third picnic table. Ethan immediately looked at the search grid.
We're in the wrong area. Lily stared toward the dense ferns.
Again. Ethan nodded.
Again. Miriam lowered her hand. Her face had gone pale.
I was certain I threw it toward the wall. Lucien stepped away from Daniel's position.
You did. He pointed toward the curve. But this part of the wall extends north. Moss and roots had hidden its original line. What appeared to be a short collapsed section continued beneath the ferns. Ava pushed aside several leaves. Another stone emerged. Then another. The wall had curved around the picnic area. Miriam had remembered striking stone. She had remembered correctly. She had only forgotten which stone.
The clearing changed the shape of the memory, Lucien nodded.
You remembered the wall as it looks now, not as it looked then. Miriam stared toward the newly exposed stones.
I searched the wrong side every time. Ava stepped beside her.
You searched with the information you had. Miriam looked at the ferns.
For 41 years, Ava answered quietly.
You did not spend 41 years searching the ground. You spent 41 years remembering one moment. Miriam's eyes moved toward her. Ava continued. Memory is not a map. Lucien looked at Ava. She heard her own words. Emily's photographs, Emily's clues. Thomas's stories, every piece of the past had felt exact because it was physical. But even physical evidence depended on the story built around it. Ava looked away from Lucien and toward the curved wall. Now we have a better place to begin.
Ethan moved the search markers. The new area was smaller but more difficult. The old table had stood close to the curved wall. Storm debris had collected there for years. Roots crossed the earth in thick lines. A fallen branch covered nearly half the section. Lucien and Ethan lifted it together. The underside was dark with moisture. Beetles disappeared into the soil. Lily stepped back.
I support nature. From a respectful distance. Ethan lowered the branch beyond the marked area.
You were touching worms 10 minutes ago. Lily stared at him.
I did not know they were worms. Ethan looked confused.
What did you think they were? Lily pulled on her gloves more tightly.
I chose not to investigate. Miriam laughed again. The sound came more easily this time. They began with the stones. Ava used a small brush from the first aid pack to clear moss from every gap. Ethan searched the lower side of the wall. Lucien followed the direction of Miriam's throw. Lily worked near the table supports. Miriam remained beside Ava, describing the final moments of the argument.
Daniel bent to pick it up. Ava looked toward her.
The necklace? Miriam shook her head.
Number the crate. I threw the necklace while he was turned away. Ava stopped brushing the stones.
He didn't see where it went?
Number he heard it. Then he looked at me. Ava waited. He asked whether I meant it. Miriam's eyes remained on the wall. I said yes. Ava spoke gently.
But you didn't. Miriam gave a small shake of her head.
I meant that I was hurt. I meant that I wanted him to choose me without asking me to choose anything. I meant that I was afraid he would leave and discover his life was better without me. She looked down. But I said yes. Ava understood too well how a single word could carry the wrong meaning for years. Lucien worked only a few feet away. He did not look toward them, but Ava knew he heard. He walked into the trees. I waited for him to return. He waited for me to follow. She touched the empty place at her throat. Neither of us understood that waiting was also a decision. Ava's gaze moved toward Lucien. This time, he looked back. No accusation, no demand. Only the same quiet truth he had offered after closing. Distance did not always begin when someone left. Sometimes it began when both people remained still. Ava looked down at the stones again.
Did Daniel know you searched for the necklace? Miriam shook her head.
I never told him.
Why? Miriam considered the question.
Because finding it would have proved I regretted throwing it. And I believed regret made me weak. She smiled sadly. Age corrects many foolish beliefs. Lily spoke from several feet away.
Not all of them. Everyone looked toward her. She held up a rusted bottle cap. I believe this was silver. Ethan examined it from a distance.
It is not. Lily dropped it into the small collection bag. They had already found 7 bottle caps, part of a spoon, 2 modern coins, and a metal button. Nothing belonged to Miriam. But every discovery sharpened her attention. Hope returned each time something reflected light. Disappointment followed a second later. Ava began to understand why Miriam had searched alone. Hope was difficult enough without witnesses.
An hour passed. The sun rose above the tallest branches. Moisture dried from the upper leaves. Birds moved through the clearing, gradually accepting the strangers below. Thomas called twice. Ava answered the second time.
You were supposed to return by 9 yesterday. Ava looked at the time. It was 8:15.
It is not 9.
I know what time it is. Ava glanced toward the others. Miriam sat briefly on the stone wall, drinking water from Lily's bottle.
We found her, Silence answered. Then Thomas spoke more carefully.
Is she safe?
Yes, she is looking for a necklace. Another Silence.
A necklace?
Her husband gave it to her 41 years ago. Thomas's voice changed.
And the red coat? Ava looked toward Miriam.
It is only a coat, Thomas exhaled. Relief passed clearly through the phone.
Bring her to town. Ava lowered her voice.
She may not want that.
Then, bring yourselves back.
We're helping her search. Thomas was silent again. Ava could imagine him closing his eyes.
Of course you are.
We found the correct section.
How do you know it is correct? Ava looked at Lucien. He stood near the curved wall, measuring the angle of Miriam's remembered throw with a fallen branch.
Lucien reconstructed the old picnic area. Thomas did not answer immediately.
How long? Ava knew what he meant.
1 more hour, Thomas sighed.
At 9:30, I am coming to get you.
We'll call before then.
You will call at 9.
9. Thomas ended the call. Lily looked over.
Was that permission? Ava put away the phone.
It was a deadline. Lily checked the search area.
Then we should work faster. Ethan shook his head.
Faster means missing things? Lily looked toward Miriam. Miriam had heard the exchange.
You should not get into trouble for me, Lily smiled.
It is not new trouble, Ethan looked at her. It is related trouble. Ava returned to the wall.
We still have time.
Lucien changed the search method. The necklace had not simply fallen. It had been thrown. The chain might have caught on something before dropping. He examined low branches. old roots, cracks between stones. He stood where Miriam had stood and repeated the movement several times without releasing anything. Each imaginary throw followed a slightly different path, but all ended within a narrow triangle. One edge crossed the table supports. The second reached the curved wall. The third ended beneath a large maple root. Lucien marked the triangle with strips of cloth.
We focus here. Ethan divided it into 4 smaller sections. Miriam joined them again. This time, she followed the grid. No returning to familiar places, no searching by instinct. Ava worked nearest the wall. Lucien searched beside the maple. Ethan cleared the central earth. Lily took the section near the table stones. For 20 minutes. No one found anything. Then Ethan uncovered a length of thin wire. Miriam's breath caught. He lifted it carefully. Modern copper, not silver. Miriam nodded as though she had expected disappointment. They continued. Ava removed a flat stone and found only pale roots beneath it. Lucien checked a hollow under the maple. Nothing. Lily sat beside one of the rectangular table supports. She pushed leaves away with both hands, then stopped.
What is it? Lily did not answer. She leaned closer to the ground. Ava stood.
Lily? Lily lifted one finger.
Wait! She brushed soil from the base of the stone. Something thin crossed the dark earth. Not bright, almost black from age. A narrow curved line disappearing beneath a root. Lily touched it gently. The object did not move. She looked toward Ethan. I found another wire. Ethan crouched beside her. He examined it without touching.
Number Miriam rose from the wall. Ethan pointed toward the curve. It has links. No one breathed. Lily carefully removed soil from one side. A tiny chain emerged. Darkened silver, several links had caught beneath the root. The rest continued under the stone. Miriam's walking stick slipped from her hand. It struck the ground. She did not notice.
Number the word came as disbelief, not refusal. Ava moved toward her, but Miriam remained standing. Lily looked at Lucien.
What do I do? Lucien knelt on the other side of the stone.
Do not pull it. The chain may be fragile. Ethan used the small brush to remove more soil. Link by link, the chain appeared. It had not broken. It had looped beneath the root and become trapped between the root and the old table support. Ava looked at Miriam. She had lifted both hands to her mouth. Her eyes remained fixed on the earth. 40. One in years of memory had narrowed to a dark line in the soil. Lucien examined the stone. We need to lift this side slightly. Ethan nodded.
The root is holding the chain. They worked slowly. Ethan placed a flat piece of wood beneath the edge of the stone. Lucien applied pressure. The stone shifted barely half an inch. Lily held the exposed chain loosely so it would not catch. Ava cleared the final soil beneath it. The chain moved, 1 inch, then 2. A small oval shape remained hidden beneath the root. Lily's eyes widened.
It's there! Miriam closed her eyes. A tear moved down her cheek. She made no attempt to wipe it away. Lucien held the stone steady.
Slowly. Ava used the brush around the oval shape. The metal surface appeared. Dark. Scratched. Still unmistakably silver beneath the tarnish. A tiny hinge ran along one side. A pendant. Lily slid 2 fingers beneath it. The chain came free. Lucien lowered the stone. No one spoke. Lily remained kneeling with the necklace resting across both palms. The chain was tangled. The oval pendant was covered in soil, but it was whole. She looked toward Miriam.
Is this it? Miriam did not move. Ava touched her arm. Miriam stepped forward slowly. She stopped in front of Lily. For several seconds, she only looked. Then she reached toward the pendant and stopped before touching it.
There was a mark. Her voice trembled. On the back. Lily turned it carefully. Ethan brushed away the soil. A shallow scratch crossed the silver. 2 letters had been engraved beneath it. Deed and Miriam made a small sound. A breath breaking into a laugh and a sob at the same time. Her knees weakened. Ava caught one arm. Lucien rose and steadied the other. They guided Miriam onto the stone wall. Lily remained in front of her, holding the necklace. I thought, She could not finish. Ava knelt beside her.
What? Miriam looked at the pendant.
I thought the earth had taken it. Lily smiled through tears of her own.
It was only holding it. Miriam looked at her, then laughed. The sound broke completely this time. She covered her face with one hand. Ava stayed beside her. No one hurried the moment. No one asked to see inside the pendant. The forest continued around them. Wind moved through the branches. Water ran below the slope. Morning light reached the old wall and the place where the picnic table had once stood. 41 years earlier, a necklace had struck stone, slipped beneath the root, and disappeared into the earth. It had remained there through rain, snow, storms, and the growth of the forest. Daniel had left. Miriam had built another life. Emily had disappeared. The town had changed. The oak had widened. The wall had fallen. But the necklace had remained. Not waiting. Objects did not wait. People gave them that meaning still. Ava could not look at the dark silver chain without feeling that something unfinished had finally reached the surface. Miriam lowered her hand. She looked toward Lily.
You found it! Lily nodded. Her usual quick answer did not come. She carefully lifted the necklace. Miriam opened both hands. Lily placed it into them. The chain settled across Miriam's gloves. The pendant rested in the center of her palms. Miriam closed her fingers around it, then pressed both hands against her chest. Thank you, Lily smiled.
We all helped. Miriam shook her head.
You saw it. Lily looked toward the old table stone.
It was almost hidden.
So our most important things. Ethan looked at Lily. She met his gaze. For once, neither looked away quickly.
Thomas called at exactly 9. The sound startled everyone. Ava answered.
It is 9. Ava looked toward Miriam. She still held the necklace against her heart.
We found it? Thomas was silent. Lily found the chain beneath an old table stone. Thomas exhaled slowly.
Is everyone safe? Ava smiled.
Yes. Thomas's voice softened.
Then come home. Ava looked toward Miriam.
I would like to see Harbor Light. Ava's smile widened.
We're bringing someone with us. Thomas paused.
The woman?
Her name is Miriam. Thomas was quiet for a moment.
All right. Ava heard movement behind him, a door of voices. Harbor Light was already open. The town was already waiting for another story. Ava.
Yes?
Do not let Walter speak to her first. Ava laughed.
We'll hurry. She ended the call. Lucien began gathering the search markers. Ethan collected the bags of discarded metal. Lily picked up Miriam's walking stick and returned it to her. Miriam stood slowly. She slipped the necklace into her coat pocket but kept one hand over it, as though the earth might ask for it back. Ava offered her arm. Miriam accepted. They walked toward the old stone wall together. Before crossing, Miriam stopped and looked back at the clearing. The searched earth, the exposed roots, the oak tree, the place where a young woman had made a decision she could never completely undo. Ava waited.
I thought finding it would make me young again. Ava looked toward her. Only for a moment. Only long enough to change what I said. She touched the pendant through the coat. But it doesn't, Ava answered gently.
Number Miriam nodded. There was sadness in her face, but no disappointment.
That is probably for the best. They crossed the wall. Lucien walked ahead with Ethan. Lily remained close behind Miriam. The red coat moved through the trees again. But this time, it did not disappear when people approached.
At the creek, Miriam stopped. The rocks were wet. Ethan crossed first, then turned and offered his hand. Miriam looked at him.
I have crossed this creek alone every morning. Ethan kept his hand extended.
I know. Miriam smiled. She took it. He helped her across. Lily followed. When she stepped onto the final rock, her boot slipped. Ethan caught her at the waist and pulled her onto the bank. Lily looked up at him. Their faces were suddenly close. Are you all right?
Yes. Neither moved. Ava watched from the opposite side. Lucien stood beside her. After a moment, Lily stepped back. She looked down at her coat. I had it. Ethan glanced toward the unstable stone.
You did not. Ava looked toward Lucien. He raised one eyebrow. She smiled. The same words, the same creek, a different pair. Lucien offered Ava his hand. She looked at it. The night at Harbor Light returned. Ava placed her hand in his, not because the rocks were wet, not because she needed help crossing. She could have crossed alone. She took his hand because he had offered it, and because she wanted him to know she saw him. Lucien's fingers closed gently around hers. He helped her onto the first rock, but when they reached the opposite bank, Ava did not release him immediately. Lucien looked down at their joined hands, then at her. Ava's courage nearly disappeared. She held on.
I haven't forgotten our conversation. Lucien's expression became still. I don't have the whole answer yet. She looked toward Miriam walking ahead in the red coat, then back at him. But I know you are not only part of the search. Lucien said nothing. Ava tightened her hand around his. And I know I don't want you walking behind me. His eyes softened.
Where do you want me? Ava stepped closer.
Here, beside her. She did not need to say the rest. Lucien understood. They continued through the trees hand in hand. Ahead of them, Lily turned once. She saw a smile spread across her face. Ethan noticed.
What? Lily looked forward again.
Nothing. Ethan glanced back. Ava gave him a warning look. He turned immediately toward the path.
I also see nothing, Miriam laughed. This time everyone joined her.
The eastern woods no longer held a ghost. They held an old picnic clearing, a lost necklace, a memory corrected by the shape of a fallen wall, and 5 people walking back toward Moonlight Falls together. By the time they reached Harbor Light, the woman in the red coat had already become 3 different people. According to one customer, she was a widow from another state. According to another, she had once lived in the old house near Moonlight Creek. Walter believed she had been searching for a family inheritance buried before the town was founded. Thomas stood behind the counter with both hands flat against the wood. He watched through the front window as Ava, Lucien, Ethan, Lily, and Miriam crossed the street. His expression changed when he saw the red coat. Relief came first, then concern, then irritation when he noticed Ava and Lucien were still holding hands. Ava released Lucien only when she reached the door, not because Thomas was watching, because Lucien needed one hand to open it. The bell rang. Every conversation inside Harbor Light stopped. Miriam paused at the entrance. More than 20 people stared at her. She looked toward Ava.
You said there would be coffee, Ava smiled.
There will be. Lily stepped inside first.
And no questions until she sits down. Walter immediately lowered his raised hand.
I only wanted to welcome her. Thomas walked around the counter. He stopped in front of Miriam.
I'm Thomas. Miriam studied him.
You were in the woods, Thomas nodded.
With the deputies.
You carry loud keys. Lily covered a laugh with one hand. Thomas glanced toward her, then back at Miriam.
I have been told. Miriam smiled faintly. Thomas's expression softened. I'm sorry, we frightened you.
I frightened your town first. Walter leaned toward the man beside him.
I was not frightened. The man looked at him.
You said she could enter trees. Walter lowered his voice.
I was being cautious.
Thomas led Miriam to the table nearest the window. Ava brought coffee. Lucien placed a plate of toast and eggs in front of her. Miriam looked at the food.
I did not order this.
Lily did. Lily sat across from her.
You have been walking through the woods every morning. Miriam looked toward the plate. You need breakfast. Miriam took the fork.
You are very direct. Lily nodded.
It saves time. Ethan sat beside her.
It does not always save time. Lily ignored him. Thomas remained standing. He looked toward Ava.
You found the necklace, Ava nodded. Miriam reached into her coat pocket. She removed the darkened chain and placed it carefully on the table. The pendant rested beside the coffee cup. Several people nearby leaned forward. Lily turned toward them.
Private table. Walter leaned back immediately. Thomas pulled out a chair and sat. He looked at the pendant. The silver had darkened almost completely. The engraved letters remained visible beneath the scratches. D and M.
41 years. Miriam nodded, and it was still there.
Beneath a root, Lily smiled.
And an old table stone. Miriam looked toward her.
Because Lily saw one dark line in the soil. Lily's smile widened. Ethan quietly placed a glass of water beside her. Lily looked at him.
Thank you, Ethan nodded. The exchange was brief, but Miriam noticed. She noticed almost everything.
People should say things while there is still time. Lily lowered her gaze toward the table. Ethan became very interested in arranging the spoons. Ava looked toward Lucien. He stood beside the counter. Their eyes met. Miriam noticed that too. She smiled into her coffee.
For nearly half an hour, the town slowly accepted the ordinary truth. Miriam had once lived in Moonlight Falls. She had lost a necklace. The storm exposed the old picnic clearing. She returned to search. There was no warning, no ghost, no connection between the red coat and Emily. At least, none beyond an old summer photograph. When Miriam showed it to Thomas, he held the faded image by the edges. Now Miriam sat beneath the oak with Daniel. Thomas studied the background.
This was before the lower bridge. Miriam nodded.
2 summers before. Thomas looked toward Ava.
Emily may have taken this. Ava stood beside him.
Miriam thinks she did. Thomas looked at the photograph again. A small section of another person's shadow stretched across the lower corner. Samono standing behind the camera. No face, no identifying detail. Only proof that another person had been there. Miriam touched the pendant.
She was always carrying a camera. Thomas handed the photograph back.
Yes. His voice had changed. Ava heard it. The old pain had entered quietly. She placed one hand on his shoulder. Thomas looked toward her. Ava did not ask another question. Not yet. Miriam finished half the breakfast. Then she lifted the pendant.
I should clean it! Thomas immediately shook his head.
Not with water. Miriam looked at him. The hinge may be damaged. Lucien joined them.
The pendant opens. Miriam nodded. She turned it over. A narrow seam ran around the edge. The tiny clasp had filled with dirt and corrosion.
There was a picture inside. Lily leaned closer.
Of Daniel? Miriam nodded.
At least there was. Ava looked at the pendant. 41 years beneath soil. Rain had moved through the earth. Roots had grown around the chain. The interior might be empty. The photograph might have dissolved. Miriam seemed to know this. Hope and fear returned together. Thomas stood.
I have tools in the back. Miriam immediately closed her fingers around the pendant.
Number Thomas stopped. Miriam looked down. I'm sorry. Thomas's voice softened.
You don't have to open it here. Miriam touched the engraved letters.
I have spent all morning wanting to, and now I'm not certain. Ava sat beside her.
You thought the necklace was the answer. Miriam looked toward her. But opening it means discovering what time did to what was inside. Miriam gave a small nod.
It may be empty.
Yes?
The picture may be gone.
Yes. Miriam looked toward the front window. The town square glowed beneath late morning sunlight.
I remember the picture. Daniel was 19. He was standing beside his father's truck. He hated that photograph. Lily smiled.
Why? Miriam almost laughed.
His hair was too long. He thought it made him look foolish. She looked down at the pendant. I thought he looked perfect. Ava waited. If the picture is ruined, I will still remember it. Ava nodded. And if I leave the pendant closed, she paused. I will wonder. Lucien looked toward Ava. The same choice existed in every hidden object. Keep it closed and preserve possibility. Open it and accept truth. Miriam placed the pendant on the table. Open it. Thomas did not move. Please. Thomas nodded once. He carried the pendant into the back room. Everyone at the table followed except Miriam. She remained seated for a moment, then stood and joined them.
The back room of Harbor Light had become a place for old things. Maps, boxes, photographs, tools. Records damaged during the storm. Thomas cleared a section of the workbench. He placed a white cloth beneath the pendant, then set out a small magnifying glass, narrow tweezers, and a thin metal pick. Miriam stood beside Ava. Her hand closed around Ava's wrist, not tightly, only enough to remain connected to someone. Thomas examined the clasp.
The hinge is intact. Miriam released a breath. Thomas brushed loose soil from the seam. The silver surface appeared beneath the dirt in narrow lines. He inserted the metal pick beneath the clasp. Nothing moved. He adjusted the angle, tried again. A faint click sounded. Miriam's grip tightened. The clasp lifted. Thomas stopped. It's open. Miriam stared at the pendant. The lid remained closed. Only the clasp had released. Thomas looked toward her. Do you want to do the rest? Miriam stepped closer. Her hands trembled. Ava placed the pendant in her palm. Miriam slipped one fingernail beneath the edge. The lid resisted, then slowly lifted. Everyone leaned closer. Inside the pendant was a dark oval. No recognizable face. No clear image. Only blackened material beneath a thin clouded cover. Miriam closed her eyes. Lily's expression fell. Ethan looked away. Ava touched Miriam's arm.
I'm sorry. Miriam remained silent. She looked again. The dark oval seemed smooth, too smooth. Lucien leaned closer.
Wait, Thomas looked toward him. Lucien pointed at the inner edge. That is not paper. Thomas used the magnifying glass. Ava watched his expression change.
He turned the pendant slightly under the lamp. The dark material reflected light, not like wet paper, like film. Ava leaned forward.
What is it? Thomas reached for the tweezers. He stopped before touching the material.
There may be something beneath the picture cover. Miriam looked confused.
Daniel's photograph was there. Thomas nodded.
It may still be. He pointed toward a thin, transparent layer. But this black strip is behind it. Lucien looked toward Ava. The room became still, a hidden layer. Inside an old pendant, Ava felt the familiar pull of a clue. She forced herself to remain focused on Miriam. This belonged to her first.
Did you know anything was hidden inside? Miriam shook her head.
Number Thomas examined the side of the setting.
The inner frame may lift. Miriam looked toward him.
Can you remove it without damaging the photograph?
I think so. He worked carefully around the edge. The thin metal frame released. Thomas lifted it with the tweezers. Beneath it lay a small circular photograph protected by cloudy glass. The image had faded, but the outline of a young man remained, Daniel, standing beside a truck, long hair touching his collar. One hand raised against the sunlight. Miriam made a quiet sound. She touched the photograph with one fingertip.
That's him, Lily smiled.
He doesn't look foolish. Miriam laughed through tears.
Number he never did. For several moments, no one looked at anything else. The hidden dark strip remained beneath the lifted frame. But Daniel's face had returned first. That mattered more. Miriam wiped her eyes, then looked toward Thomas. What is behind it? Thomas carefully removed the tiny photograph in glass. A narrow piece of rolled film rested inside the deepest part of the pendant. It had been folded into a circle smaller than a coin. The film was dark. Its edges were dry, protected by the metal casing and inner frame. Thomas lifted it with the tweezers. The strip slowly uncurled across the white cloth. It was no longer than Ava's smallest finger. 2 miniature frames appeared along its length. Ethan leaned closer.
Photographic negative? Thomas nodded. Lily looked toward Miriam.
Did Daniel put it there? Miriam stared at the strip.
I don't know. Ava looked at the tiny frames under ordinary light. They showed only pale shapes against darkness. One shape appeared human. The other looked like part of a building or wall. Thomas's face had gone pale, Ava noticed.
What is it? Thomas did not answer. He brought the magnifying glass over the first frame, then the second. His hand became still. Lucien watched him.
You recognize something. Thomas slowly lowered the magnifying glass.
Maybe. Ava stepped closer.
What? Thomas looked toward Miriam.
Do you remember when Daniel gave you the necklace?
The week before the picnic.
Was it new? Miriam thought.
He said he found it in an antique shop. Thomas looked down at the film again.
So the film may have been inside before he bought it. Ava's pulse quickened.
Or someone placed it there later. Thomas's expression hardened.
The pendant was with Miriam until the picnic. Miriam shook her head.
Not every moment. She looked toward the old photograph. I left it on the blanket when I went swimming. Daniel sometimes carried it in his pocket. Emily examined it once. Ava became still.
Emily, Miriam nodded.
The clasp stuck. She opened it for me. Thomas looked toward the film. Ava's voice lowered.
When?
A few days before the picnic. She returned it that evening. Silence filled the back room. Miriam saw the change in their faces. You think Emily put this inside? Thomas folded his arms.
I don't know. But his voice suggested that he feared exactly that. Ava looked toward the 2 miniature frames.
We need to develop them. Thomas shook his head.
Number Ava turned toward him. The film is old. Exposure to light may already have damaged it. We do not experiment with it here. Lucien nodded.
Who can handle film this small? Thomas looked toward the front of the restaurant.
Mr. Avery. Lily frowned.
The old photographer. Thomas nodded. Mr. Avery had operated the town photography shop before retiring. He still developed film for people who found forgotten rolls in attics and desk drawers. He complained about digital cameras at least once a week. Ethan looked at the clock.
He opens the shop on Saturdays. Thomas carefully placed the strip inside a small light-proof envelope.
Only until noon. It was 11:20. Ava reached for her coat. Thomas immediately blocked the doorway. I'm going.
So am I. Thomas looked at Miriam. Miriam held Daniel's photograph in one hand and the open pendant in the other.
I would like to know. Thomas's expression softened. He moved aside.
Then we go together.
Walter stood when the group emerged from the back room.
Did you find treasure? Lily walked past him.
A photograph. Walter looked disappointed.
Of what? Lily opened the front door.
We don't know. Walter brightened again.
That is much better. Thomas pointed toward the counter.
Stay here. Walter looked offended.
I was planning to order pie. Thomas continued toward the door.
Then, order pie.
They crossed the square quickly. Mr. Avery's photography shop stood between the pharmacy and the old post office. The sign above the window had faded from black to gray. Inside, shelves held cameras no one used anymore. Frames leaned against walls. Boxes of film occupied one entire cabinet. A bell rang when Thomas opened the door. Mr. Avery looked up from a newspaper. He was a thin man in his 70s with silver hair and large glasses.
We're closed. Thomas looked at the sign.
It says noon. Mr. Avery checked the clock.
It is almost noon.
It is 11:32. Mr. Avery folded the newspaper.
You always were difficult.
We need help. Mr. Avery looked past him. Lucien, Ethan, Lily, Miriam in the red coat. His attention stopped there.
So, you are the famous woman. Miriam raised an eyebrow.
I was hoping that would end.
It will. Town fame rarely survives lunch. He stood. What do you have? Thomas placed the light-proof envelope on the counter.
Very old film. Mr. Avery's expression changed. He immediately became professional.
How old?
At least 41 years. Mr. Avery looked toward her. It was inside a pendant. The photographer stared at the envelope.
You exposed it? Rummer shook his head.
Briefly, indoor light. Mr. Avery sighed.
Of course. Ava stepped closer.
Can you develop it? Mr. Avery opened a drawer and removed thin cotton gloves.
I can try. He looked at all of them. But you may get nothing. Miriam nodded.
We understand. Mr. Avery pointed toward the front chairs.
Sit! Lily looked toward the closed darkroom door.
How long?
Longer if you ask. Lily sat. Ethan sat beside her. Thomas remained standing until Mr. Avery looked at him. You too. Thomas sat. Mr. Avery carried the envelope into the darkroom and closed the door.
Waiting changed the shop. Every clock became louder. Every movement behind the darkroom door seemed important. Water ran. A drawer opened. Glass touched glass. Then silence. Miriam held the pendant in her lap. Daniel's photograph had been returned to its inner frame but not sealed inside. She looked down at his faded face. Ava sat beside Lucien near the display window. Their shoulders touched. This time, neither moved away. Lucien spoke quietly.
You are thinking about Emily, Ava nodded.
I'm trying not to make it about her.
It may involve her.
That doesn't mean it belongs to her. Lucien looked toward Miriam.
Number Ava rested her hands together.
She came here to find Daniel. She found him. Whatever is on that film should not take that away. Lucien's expression softened.
You see the difference? Ava looked toward him. She knew what he meant. Earlier, every connection to Emily had consumed the room. This time, Ava could feel the clue without allowing it to erase the person beside it.
I'm learning. Lucien's hand rested between them on the chair. Ava placed her hand over it. He looked down, then turned his palm and held hers. Across the shop, Thomas noticed. He said nothing. Miriam noticed too. She smiled. Lily whispered to Ethan.
Everyone is noticing. Ethan kept his voice low.
You are the only one discussing it. Lily faced forward.
I am documenting.
After 25 minutes, the darkroom door opened. Mr. Avery emerged holding a small strip of wet negative film between gloved fingers. His expression was unreadable. Thomas stood.
Well, Mr. Avery walked to the light table.
The film survived. Everyone gathered around. Mr. Avery switched on the table. The two tiny frames glowed from beneath. Shapes became clearer. One showed a woman beside a stone structure. The second showed two people near the same place. Ava leaned closer. Even in negative, she recognized the woman's posture. The angle of her shoulders, the shape of her hair.
Emily? Thomas said nothing. Lucien looked toward the second frame.
And Victor? Ava's heart accelerated. For weeks, every discovered image had suggested the same story. Emily watching Victor. Emily following him. Emily attempting to learn what he was doing. The new film appeared to confirm it. But Mr. Avery shook his head.
Do not decide yet. Ava looked at him. Negatives reverse more than light. He adjusted a lens above the first frame. The order matters. Thomas leaned closer.
How can you determine order from two frames? Mr. Avery pointed toward the film edge.
Frame numbers. Teeny markings appeared beside the images. The first photograph was marked 23. The second, 24. Mr. Avery moved the lens. Emily was photographed first. Ava stared. In frame 23, Emily stood alone beside the stone structure. She faced downward. One hand touched something near the base. The photograph had not been taken by Emily. Someone else held the camera. The second frame showed Victor entering from behind the structure. Emily had already been there. Victor came later. Thomas looked toward Mr. Avery.
Can you print them?
Yes. He looked at the negatives. But the images are small. Details may be poor.
Print everything. Mr. Avery nodded and returned to the darkroom.
The waiting became worse. Ava remained near the light table. She studied the glowing negatives. Emily alone. Victor arriving, the accepted story shifted. Not completely, but enough. Emily had not followed Victor to the place. Victor had followed Emily. Lucien stood beside her.
The stone structure. Ava looked closer.
It resembles the old Moonlight Creek marker. Thomas became still. Ethan looked toward him.
The sealed door? Thomas's jaw tightened. The dark stone outline in the photograph matched the structure near Moonlight Creek? Not the wooden door itself? The older stone entrance around it? Before repairs? Before ivy covered the side? Ava looked toward Thomas.
You knew Emily went there. Thomas did not answer. Ava stepped toward him. Thomas. He looked at the negatives.
I knew she had found something near the creek. Ava's expression tightened.
What?
She would not tell me.
You said Victor led her there? Thomas looked toward her.
That is what I believed.
Because Thomas took a breath?
Because Victor appeared everywhere she went after that. Lucien looked toward the frames.
Not before, Thomas's silence answered. Ava's voice lowered.
Victor was following Emily's discovery. Thomas looked away. The darkroom door opened again. Mr. Avery returned holding 2 wet prints. He placed them beneath the light. The first image became clear. Emily stood beside the Moonlight Creek stone entrance. She was not watching the road. She was not searching for Victor. She was examining a small carved mark near the lower edge of the stone. One hand held a notebook. The second image showed Victor several yards behind her. He had just entered the frame. His face was turned toward Emily, not the stone, not the creek. Emily had not followed him, he had followed her. Lily stared at the photographs.
Who took these? No one answered. Ethan examined the angle.
The photographer was hidden west of the entrance. Lucien looked toward Thomas.
Did Daniel know Victor? Miriam shook her head.
Not that I know. She looked at the film. Daniel may not have taken them. Ava looked toward the pendant.
The film may have been hidden before Daniel bought it. Mr. Avery adjusted his glasses.
The film type is older than 41 years. Thomas turned.
How much older? Mr. Avery considered.
Possibly 5 years. Perhaps more. The room became silent. The pendant had not been chosen because of Miriam. It had already carried a secret. Daniel purchased it without knowing. Emily opened it to repair the clasp. She may have discovered the film, or she may have been the person who placed it back inside after examining it. Miriam looked toward Ava.
Emily returned the necklace to me the evening before the picnic. Ava felt the connection sharpen.
She knew the film was there. Thomas shook his head.
We cannot know that. Ava pointed toward the open pendant.
She repaired the clasp. She opened the frame. She would have seen it. Thomas looked at the photographs again. The evidence was simple. Emily had found something at Moonlight Creek. Victor followed her. Someone who photographed them. The film ended up hidden inside a pendant that Emily handled days later. Whether she hid it there or merely returned it, she had known. Ava looked toward Thomas. What did Emily discover? Thomas's expression closed. You know something?
I know she became afraid.
Of Victor? Thomas looked toward the second photograph.
At first, I thought so. Lucien waited.
And later, Thomas's eyes remained on Emily's image.
Later, I thought she was afraid of the place itself. Ava looked at the carved mark near the stone.
The door. Thomas shook his head.
Not the door. His voice had become quiet, too quiet.
Then what? Thomas did not answer. Miriam placed the pendant on the counter beside Daniel's photograph. Her search had led them here, but the question no longer belonged to her. She looked toward Thomas with the same patience she had shown the forest.
You have waited long enough. Thomas looked at her. So have they. Thomas lowered his gaze. For several seconds, the old photography shop held only the sound of the wall clock. Then Thomas touched the first print, Emily beside the stone.
She found an older entrance beneath Moonlight Creek. Ava became still. Thomas continued before she could interrupt. Victor did not show it to her. He did not lead her there. He followed her because he wanted to know what she had found. Lucien looked toward the carved mark in the photograph.
And she told you. Thomas shook his head.
Not enough. Ava's frustration rose.
What did she say? Thomas looked directly at her. Fear appeared in his face again. Not the fear that made him angry, the older fear. The one he had carried since Emily disappeared.
She said the entrance should never have been opened. Ava looked toward the photograph. Emily's hand rested beside the carved mark. Her notebook